Welcome to the shadowed forests and high mountain valleys of Colorado, where the whispering pines and rugged terrain conceal more than just breathtaking scenery. Hidden deep in these woods are cabins with chilling histories and unsettling legends. Places where the echoes of the past linger and the veil between the living and the dead feels disturbingly thin. Tonight, we journey into the dark heart of Colorado's wilderness to uncover the secrets of the 25 most haunted cabins in the state, each with its own story of tragedy, terror, and unexplained phenomena. Black Pine Cabin, nestled on the edge of Estes Park, near the entrance to Rocky Mountain National Park, is a small, rustic retreat that seems ordinary at first glance, yet carries an unsettling reputation that has grown over the decades. Built in the early 1900s, the cabin was originally a simple shelter for travelers and early settlers seeking refuge from the harsh mountain elements. Its weathered logs, stone fireplace, and modest wooden interiors give it a quaint, historical charm, but those who step inside often feel that there is something much darker lingering within its walls. Visitors to Black Pine Cabin frequently report sudden and unexplained drops in temperature. In the middle of a warm day, a room can feel icy, leaving a chill that seeps into clothing and makes skin prickle. These cold spots are unpredictable, sometimes following guests as they move through the cabin, giving the sensation that an unseen presence is tracking their movements. Many describe the feeling as a heavy, oppressive energy, one that presses down on the chest and creates a sense of unease that is hard to shake. The cold seems most pronounced near the corners of rooms and along the stone fireplace, areas that have been mentioned repeatedly in first-hand accounts of paranormal activity. Alongside the temperature fluctuations, disembodied footsteps are commonly reported throughout the cabin. Guests often hear the sound of someone pacing along the wooden floors above or outside the rooms. Yet when they investigate, there is no one in sight. The footsteps are described as slow, deliberate, and occasionally accompanied by the creaking of floorboards or soft thuds against the walls. Some visitors report hearing multiple sets of footsteps at once, as if several unseen figures were moving through the cabin simultaneously, heightening the sense of dread and the feeling of being watched. The sensation of being observed is another hallmark of Black Pine Cabin. Many guests claim that, no matter where they stand, they feel eyes on them from shadowed corners or across empty rooms. This feeling can be subtle at first, a prickling awareness at the back of the mind, but it often intensifies, leaving visitors uneasy and hyper-aware of their surroundings. Some describe turning quickly toward the corners only to find nothing there. Yet the feeling persists, as if a presence is just beyond the edge of perception. Paranormal investigators suggest that this may be a form of residual energy, where the experiences of past inhabitants imprint themselves on the environment, replaying moments of tension or fear for those who enter. Faint whispers are another chilling element of the cabin's haunted reputation. Many visitors report hearing voices at night, soft and distant, as though carried on the wind that rustles the surrounding pines. The whispers are often unintelligible, sometimes sounding like fragments of conversation or urgent warnings, and they seem to come from places where no one could be. These auditory phenomena often coincide with the appearance of cold spots or the sound of footsteps, creating an immersive and unsettling experience that feels both real and inexplicable. The surrounding forest amplifies the cabin's eerie atmosphere. The dense pines sway in the mountain wind, casting moving shadows across the cabin's interior and exterior. At night, the trees seem to merge with the darkness of the cabin, blurring the line between inside and outside. Visitors report that the whispers and footsteps sometimes seem to drift through the walls from the forest, making it difficult to distinguish natural sounds from the supernatural. Even in the daytime, the cabin exudes a sense of solitude and quiet tension, as if it exists in a liminal space where the echoes of the past continue to linger. Despite its haunting reputation, Black Pine Cabin continues to attract those drawn to history and the unexplained. Guests leave with vivid memories of sudden chills, unseen observers, and faint whispers carried through the pines. Whether the experiences are truly supernatural or the result of the cabin's isolation and atmosphere, There is no denying the lasting impression it leaves. Black Pine Cabin remains a place where the past and the present seem to collide, where visitors are made keenly aware that in the shadowed corners of the Rocky Mountains, some presences refuse to rest. Timberline Retreat, perched on a secluded ridge above the dense forests of evergreen, Colorado, is a cabin that blends natural beauty with an unsettling reputation. Constructed in the 1920s, the retreat was originally designed as a rustic getaway for families seeking respite from city life, offering sweeping views of the forested valleys below and the mountains in the distance. Its wooden beams, stone fireplace, and wraparound porch evoke a sense of nostalgia. Yet the cabin is far from a peaceful retreat today. Over the decades, Timberline Retreat has earned a reputation as one of Colorado's most haunted cabins, drawing both curiosity seekers and paranormal investigators to its shadowed halls. Visitors to Timberline Retreat often describe an immediate sense of unease upon entering the cabin. The air feels heavier than expected, carrying an almost palpable tension that seems to settle in the corners of each room. Many report the sensation of being watched, a subtle pressure that follows them as they move through the cabin. This feeling is often most intense near the windows overlooking the forest, where the landscape shifts from sunlit tranquility during the day to shadowed mystery as dusk falls. Even those skeptical of the paranormal cannot deny the eerie atmosphere that pervades the retreat. One of the most famous legends surrounding Timberline Retreat is the appearance of a mysterious woman in old-fashioned attire. Locals have reported seeing her standing at the windows, often in a long dress reminiscent of the early 20th century, her gaze seemingly fixed on the distant forest. Attempts to approach her often prove futile. By the time anyone nears the window, she has vanished, leaving no trace behind. Witnesses describe a feeling of sorrow and longing that seems to radiate from her presence, an emotional energy that clings to the cabin like a lingering shadow. Some speculate that she may be the spirit of a woman who once lived or stayed at the retreat. Trapped in a loop of unresolved grief or unfinished business, paranormal investigators have documented numerous unexplained phenomena within Timberline Retreat. EVP sessions have captured faint cries, whispers, and soft footsteps that seem to come from rooms where no one is present. Some recordings contain indistinct phrases that sound almost conversational, as if the spirit is attempting to communicate across time. Investigators often report sudden temperature drops in specific areas of the cabin, particularly near the fireplace, the upper loft, and the porch overlooking the ridge. These cold spots can be intense enough to cause goosebumps or shivering, even on warm days. Footsteps are a particularly common occurrence, often heard when the cabin is empty. Guests have reported the sounds of someone walking across the wooden floors, pacing corridors, or ascending the staircase, yet no one is physically present. The sounds are often deliberate, timed with shifts in attention or moments of silence, creating an uncanny sense that the cabin is alive in some unseen way. Objects also sometimes move on their own. Doors that were closed are found ajar, chairs are shifted, and small items appear in places they were not left. While skeptics may suggest drafts or human error, the consistency of these reports over decades suggests something beyond the physical world is at play. The retreat's remote location adds to the sense of isolation and unease. Timberline Retreat sits high above the surrounding forest, with steep slopes leading down into thick stands of pine and fir. During the day, sunlight filtering through the trees creates a serene, almost magical atmosphere, but at night, shadows lengthen, and the forest takes on an ominous quality. Guests report hearing distant rustling, the soft murmur of the wind through the trees, and occasional snapping branches, yet no wildlife or human presence can be detected. These natural sounds, combined with the unexplained phenomena inside the cabin, create an immersive experience that many describe as both thrilling and unnerving. Historical research suggests that Timberline Retreat may have witnessed events that left a lasting imprint on the property. The 1920s and 1930s were periods of significant hardship for many families in the area, and cabins like this one often hosted long stays for individuals seeking solitude or recovery. Some believe that personal tragedies, unexpected deaths, accidents, or profound sorrow may have anchored emotional energy to the cabin. Paranormal experts often refer to this as residual energy, a form of spiritual imprint that remains in a location long after the original event, manifesting as cold spots, sounds, or apparitions. The sightings of the woman in old-fashioned attire may be one such example of this lingering presence. Visitors often describe mixed emotions when exploring Timberline Retreat. Many feel a deep sense of curiosity and fascination, drawn to the history and mysterious phenomena. Others experience fear, unease, or a pressing sense of melancholy, as if the emotional residue of the past is pressing upon them. Some report that the intensity of activity varies depending on the time of day or the number of people present, with the most dramatic encounters occurring during quiet, late-night hours when the forest and cabin are still. Paranormal investigations have added to the cabin's reputation. Thermal cameras have recorded sudden cold spots near windows and in hallways, while motion sensors occasionally trigger without any visible cause. Cameras set up for long periods sometimes capture shadowy forms, moving across rooms or appearing near the staircase. Audio equipment frequently records whispers, cries, or footsteps that cannot be attributed to human activity. Although some incidents may be explainable by natural causes, the sheer volume and consistency of unexplained occurrences have cemented Timberline Retreat's place among Colorado's most haunted cabins. Ultimately, Timberline Retreat offers more than just scenic beauty and historical interest. It is a place where the line between the present and the past, the living and the departed, seems unusually thin. For those who visit, the cabin provides a direct encounter with the unknown, whether through fleeting apparitions, unexplained sounds, or the pervasive sensation of being watched. Its combination of isolation, haunting beauty, and persistent paranormal activity makes it a compelling destination for ghost hunters, history enthusiasts, and those intrigued by the mysteries of the supernatural. Timberline Retreat remains a testament to the way history, human emotion, and the unexplained can converge in a single location. From the mysterious woman in period attire to the disembodied footsteps and whispered cries, the cabin holds countless stories waiting to be experienced. For anyone who ventures to Evergreen and climbs the ridge to this secluded retreat, it offers a chilling reminder that the past never truly leaves, and that sometimes the spirits of those long gone continue to watch, listen, and move unseen among the living. Shadow Creek Cabin, nestled in the rugged hills near Breckenridge, Colorado, is a rustic structure that carries more than a century of history within its timbered walls. Its origins are deeply intertwined with the mining boom of the 1800s, a period that brought prosperity and tragedy in equal measure to the mountains of Colorado. Built as a resting place for miners and their families, Shadow Creek Cabin served as a quiet refuge after long days spent laboring in the treacherous mine tunnels that thread the surrounding mountains. Over time, however, the cabin became known not just for its historical significance, but for its unsettling reputation as one of Breckenridge's most haunted locations. A place where echoes of the past continue to reverberate with unnerving clarity. The architecture of Shadow Creek Cabin reflects its utilitarian beginnings. Solid wooden beams, rough-hewn floors, and a sturdy stone fireplace give it a practical yet warm appearance. However, visitors often sense that beneath its rustic charm lies a lingering energy, a presence that makes the cabin feel alive in ways that are difficult to explain. Those who enter frequently report an immediate sense of unease, as if unseen eyes are following their movements through the rooms. The cabin's loft, in particular, is said to be the epicenter of paranormal activity, with sudden cold spots, inexplicable gusts of wind, and a persistent feeling of something unseen brushing past or hovering nearby. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at Shadow Creek Cabin is the sound of clanging tools and distant voices emanating from the abandoned mine tunnels that lie beneath the property. Visitors often hear the rhythmic pounding of hammers, the scraping of pickaxes against stone, and muffled voices that seem to echo with a sense of urgency. These sounds occur even when no one is present in the surrounding area, leaving a haunting impression that the miners of the past are still at work in the tunnels below. Some have described hearing the muffled shouts of men warning each other of danger, or the desperate calls of workers trapped in collapses long since sealed, suggesting that the tragedies of the mining era have left a permanent mark on the property. The loft of Shadow Creek Cabin is frequently described as the most active space within the building. Guests report sudden, inexplicable gusts of wind that seem impossible given the still mountain air outside. Cold spots appear without warning, sometimes chilling only a small portion of the room, leaving visitors shivering even when the rest of the cabin remains comfortably warm. Shadows seem to move independently of any light source, and the sensation of being watched intensifies when guests linger in this space. Paranormal investigators have noted that the loft often reacts strongly to electronic equipment, with cameras and audio devices capturing anomalies that cannot be easily explained by natural causes. Visitors have also reported other unsettling occurrences throughout the cabin. Doors may creak open or slam shut without any apparent cause. Objects shift from their original positions, and lights flicker unpredictably. Many describe faint whispers that drift along the floors and walls, words that are often indistinct but carry an unmistakable emotional weight. Some have even recounted seeing shadowy figures moving along the walls or crouching near corners, vanishing before they can be clearly identified. These experiences create an immersive atmosphere in which the history of the cabin and the tragedies of the miners seem to bleed into the present. The surrounding landscape contributes to the eerie ambience of Shadow Creek Cabin. Set amidst steep forested slopes and craggy peaks, the area is naturally isolated, providing both a scenic vista and a sense of vulnerability. The sounds of wildlife rustling leaves, distant bird calls, and the whisper of the wind through the pines often mix with the unexplained phenomena inside the cabin, creating a sensory experience that is both beautiful and unnerving. At night, when the forest grows quiet and shadows lengthen, the cabin takes on a more foreboding quality, its wooden beams and stone walls seeming to hold the echoes of countless lives that once passed through its doors. Historical records indicate that Shadow Creek Cabin was built during a time when mining in Breckenridge was fraught with danger. Accidents were common, from sudden collapses to equipment failures, and many miners lost their lives in the tunnels below. The cabin may have witnessed moments of both joy and tragedy, miners returning home after long days of labor, families celebrating modest victories, or grief-stricken survivors mourning lost loved ones. Paranormal experts often suggest that such intense emotional experiences leave residual energy in a location, manifesting as unexplained sounds, cold spots, or apparitions. In the case of Shadow Creek Cabin, this residual energy seems concentrated in the loft and in areas closest to the old mine tunnels, creating a consistent pattern of activity over the decades. Several paranormal investigations have documented unusual phenomena at Shadow Creek Cabin. Thermal cameras have detected localized cold spots, often in areas associated with previous reports of activity. Motion sensors occasionally trigger without a discernible cause, while audio recordings capture faint clanging, whispers, and distant voices that cannot be explained by natural sources. Visual anomalies, such as shadowy shapes moving through the loft or along hallways, have also been captured on camera. While skeptics might attribute some occurrences to natural drafts, settling wood, or wildlife, the volume and consistency of these reports strongly suggest the presence of lingering, unexplained energy. Visitors often describe a complex mix of emotions when exploring Shadow Creek Cabin. Many feel awe and fascination at its historical significance, while simultaneously experiencing fear, unease, and the uncanny sensation of being in the presence of something beyond the natural world. Some recount leaving the cabin with an inexplicable heaviness, a sense that the miners' stories, both triumphant and tragic, remain woven into the very fabric of the building. For those willing to explore, the cabin offers a rare glimpse into a past that refuses to stay buried, where the echoes of human labor, loss, and unresolved emotion continue to resonate. Shadow Creek Cabin stands as a compelling testament to the intersection of history, human emotion, and the unexplained. From the clanging tools and distant voices in the mine tunnels to the sudden cold spots and moving shadows in the loft, the cabin offers a haunting glimpse into a world where the past and present converge. Its combination of natural beauty, historical significance, and persistent paranormal activity makes it a must-visit location for ghost hunters, history enthusiasts, and anyone intrigued by the mysteries of the supernatural. Whispering Pines Lodge, perched on a hillside overlooking the Arkansas River Valley in Salida, Colorado, is a building steeped in mystery and unsettling tales. Constructed decades ago as a retreat for travelers and nature enthusiasts, the lodge once served as a quiet getaway, offering sweeping views of the valley below and the surrounding peaks. Its rustic charm, complete with wooden beams, stone fireplaces, and expansive windows, belies a darker reputation that has grown over the years. Today, Whispering Pines Lodge is notorious for its unexplained activity, drawing curiosity seekers, hikers, and paranormal investigators who are eager to uncover the stories hidden within its walls. Visitors often report an immediate feeling of unease upon approaching the lodge. From the outside, it appears welcoming, bathed in sunlight during the day and framed by swaying pines. However, as night falls, or even on overcast afternoons, the atmosphere changes subtly but unmistakably. A heavy, almost tangible tension seems to hang over the building, and the surrounding woods feel unusually silent. Many describe a sense that the lodge itself is watching them, an unseen presence that seems to linger just beyond their field of vision. This sensation is often accompanied by fleeting shadows or a feeling of movement in peripheral areas, even when the lodge is entirely empty. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at Whispering Pines Lodge is the appearance of shadowy figures inside the rooms. Guests have described seeing dark, indistinct shapes moving along walls, disappearing into corners, or standing silently in doorways before vanishing altogether. These figures are rarely seen in full detail, often appearing as fleeting silhouettes, but their presence is enough to unsettle even the most skeptical visitor. Some eyewitnesses claim the figures seem to be observing the lodge's occupants, moving with an almost deliberate intention, as if they are replaying events from the past. Unexplained laughter is another recurring experience reported by those who visit the lodge. The laughter often comes from rooms that are otherwise empty, echoing off the wooden walls and stone hearths. Guests describe it as high-pitched, sporadic, and sometimes tinged with a strange sadness. It is rarely loud, yet it carries enough resonance to be heard clearly in the quiet of the lodge, often occurring when no one is nearby. Some speculate that the laughter could be a remnant of joyful moments from past guests or former residents, while others believe it may be the expression of restless spirits lingering in the building. Hikers in the area have added another layer of mystery to Whispering Pines Lodge. On several occasions, those trekking through the surrounding trails have reported seeing lights flickering in the windows when the lodge is known to be deserted. These lights appear and disappear without explanation, sometimes lingering long enough to resemble someone moving within the building. Such sightings have fueled speculation that the lodge is a portal of sorts, a place where the energy of the past intersects with the present, allowing glimpses of lives once lived within its walls. The lodge's layout and architecture contribute to its eerie atmosphere. The open common rooms, with large windows framing the valley below, provide both beauty and exposure. Shadows cast by the surrounding trees can stretch across the floors, creating shifting patterns that make it difficult to discern what is real. The upper floors, particularly the hallways leading to the guest rooms, are hotspots for paranormal activity. Visitors often report sudden chills, inexplicable drafts, and objects moving or shifting in ways that defy logic. Doors that were firmly closed may be found ajar, and personal belongings are occasionally discovered in different positions than when they were left. The history of Whispering Pines Lodge provides some context for the activity. Originally built in the early 20th century, the lodge has hosted countless guests over the decades, including travelers, workers, and families seeking respite from daily life. Its remote location made it both a haven and, at times, a site of misfortune. Accidents, illnesses, and sudden deaths occurred throughout the lodge's history, leaving behind a residue of emotional energy that some paranormal experts suggest could contribute to the reported phenomena. In particular, rooms that have witnessed repeated emotional events, whether sorrow, laughter, or conflict, are believed to retain a portion of that energy, which may manifest as ghostly sightings, sounds, or other anomalies. Paranormal investigations have documented numerous unusual occurrences at Whispering Pines Lodge. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP. Sessions often capture faint laughter, whispers, or phrases that cannot be attributed to living individuals. Thermal imaging has revealed sudden cold spots in hallways and common areas, sometimes intensifying near windows or doors. Motion-activated cameras have occasionally recorded shadowy shapes moving through rooms, while audio equipment picks up unexplained footsteps along the hallways and stairs. While some skeptics attribute these experiences to environmental factors, such as drafts, settling wood, or optical illusions, the consistency of reports over decades suggests something more enduring and mysterious. Visitors to the lodge often describe a mixture of fascination and unease. Many are drawn to its beauty and historical charm, yet cannot ignore the sensations that indicate they are not entirely alone. Guests have recounted feeling watched, experiencing unexplained chills, or hearing whispers and laughter that seem to come from nowhere. Even hikers who merely glimpse the lodge from the trails report a sense of being drawn to it, a magnetic pull fueled by curiosity and the unexplained. Whispering Pines Lodge stands as a unique testament to the intersection of history, nature, and the unexplained. Its shadowy figures, unexplained laughter, flickering lights, and sudden chills create an atmosphere in which the past and present seem to overlap, allowing visitors a rare glimpse into a world where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist. For those willing to explore, the lodge offers an experience that is both thrilling and unnerving, a chance to step into a place where the echoes of lives long gone continue to resonate through the room's hallways and surrounding forests. Whether approached with curiosity, skepticism, or caution, Whispering Pines Lodge remains a site where mystery and history converge. From the shadowy figures that appear in the corners to the laughter echoing through empty rooms, it is a location that captivates, unnerves, and invites exploration into the unknown. Those who venture to Salida and stand before the lodge's weathered facade find themselves at the threshold of a place where the past never truly leaves, and where the Whispering Pines may be keeping watch over secrets that have lingered for generations. Cedar Hollow Cabin, tucked away in the dense forests near Durango, Colorado, is a structure steeped in history, tragedy, and chilling tales that have been whispered for over a century. Built in the late 1800s, the cabin was originally constructed as a remote homestead for settlers seeking solitude in the rugged San Juan Mountains. Its timber walls and stone foundation have weathered countless winters, each one harsher than the last, and the cabin's history is marked by the hardships and tragedies of those early pioneers. Over time, Cedar Hollow Cabin has earned a reputation as one of Durango's most haunted locations, drawing visitors, ghost hunters, and curious travelers intrigued by the stories of apparitions and unexplained phenomena that surround it. From the moment one approaches Cedar Hollow Cabin, there is a palpable sense of isolation and foreboding. The forested landscape around the cabin is thick with pine and fir, creating shadows that stretch unnaturally across the ground, even in daylight. The path leading to the cabin is narrow and winding, flanked by trees that seem to lean inward, as though watching travelers make their way to the cabin's weathered door. Guests often report an immediate chill in the air, a sensation that seems to intensify as they cross the threshold into the cabin itself. This coldness is not merely physical but carries an emotional weight, a heavy, oppressive energy that makes the cabin feel alive with unseen presence. One of the most common and unsettling experiences reported at Cedar Hollow Cabin is the sighting of apparitions dressed in period clothing. Visitors have described seeing figures in the style of late 19th century attire, long dresses, heavy coats, and wide-brimmed hats, moving silently through the rooms, lingering near corners, or standing just beyond the field of vision before vanishing. Some apparitions appear engaged in everyday activities, tending to a fireplace, adjusting items on shelves, or gazing out of a window. Others are less benign, radiating a sense of sorrow, fear, or urgency that seems to cling to the very walls of the cabin. These ghostly figures are not fleeting shadows or illusions. Many witnesses report clear, detailed sightings that leave a lasting impression, a chilling reminder of the cabin's storied past. Visitors often experience an overwhelming sense of oppression when alone in the cabin. This sensation is difficult to describe, but is frequently likened to a weight pressing down on the chest, a stifling heaviness that makes breathing and movement feel laborious. Guests have reported this feeling intensifying in the small, enclosed rooms of the cabin, particularly near the bedrooms and the loft. It is as though the emotional residue of past tragedies, the hardships, the suffering, and the deaths endured by early occupants has seeped into the structure, creating a persistent atmosphere of melancholy and unease. Historical accounts provide context for the paranormal activity reported at Cedar Hollow Cabin. During the late 1800s, the harsh winters of the San Juan Mountains claimed many lives, with settlers succumbing to illness, exposure, and accidents while attempting to survive in an unforgiving environment. The cabin itself was witness to several documented deaths, including entire families lost during particularly brutal winters. It is believed that these tragic events left a lasting imprint on the property, an energy that continues to manifest as apparitions, cold spots, and oppressive sensations experienced by modern visitors. Paranormal experts often describe such occurrences as residual energy, the emotional imprint of past lives replaying within the spaces where they once existed. In addition to visual phenomena, Cedar Hollow Cabin is known for unexplained auditory experiences. Guests frequently report hearing footsteps on the creaking wooden floors when no one else is present, whispers in empty rooms, and the faint, mournful sighs of past occupants. These sounds often coincide with moments when visitors are alone, heightening the sense of vulnerability and fear. Some have described the voices as calling out names or phrases, though they are typically indistinct, carrying a tone of sorrow or warning rather than malice. Paranormal investigators have captured these sounds on electronic recording devices, further validating the experiences of those who claim to have heard them firsthand. The layout and architecture of Cedar Hollow Cabin contribute to its haunting presence. Its low ceilings, narrow hallways, and small rooms amplify sound and shadow, creating an environment where even minor movements or noises can feel magnified and threatening. The loft, in particular, is noted as a hotspot for paranormal activity, with frequent reports of sudden cold gusts, flickering shadows, and ghostly apparitions appearing in the rafters or near the windows. The fireplaces, once essential for survival during harsh winters, are also sites of repeated activity, with guests reporting sensations of being watched or touched by unseen hands while near the hearths. Despite the unsettling phenomena, many visitors are drawn to Cedar Hollow Cabin for its historical significance and remote beauty. The surrounding forest and mountains offer breathtaking views and a sense of peace during the day, contrasting sharply with the cabin's eerie reputation at night. Hikers, photographers, and history enthusiasts often venture to the cabin to experience its unique atmosphere, walking the perimeter and observing the structure while remaining alert to the subtle signs of paranormal activity. For some, even brief glimpses of unexplained movement or a sudden chill provide an unforgettable connection to the past, a tangible reminder of the lives that once filled the cabin with both hope and despair. Paranormal investigations at Cedar Hollow Cabin have documented a wide array of anomalies. Thermal imaging often reveals localized cold spots in the bedrooms, loft, and hallways. Motion sensors occasionally detect movement when the cabin is empty, and audio recordings capture whispers, footsteps, and faint cries. Witnesses have also reported objects moving subtly, doors opening or closing without cause, and shadowy figures glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, while skeptics attribute some occurrences to natural causes. The consistency and variety of reports over decades strongly suggest a persistent, unexplained presence within the cabin. Cedar Hollow Cabin stands as a haunting testament to the trials and tragedies of early mountain settlers. Its weathered timbers and stone foundation carry the weight of history, while the apparitions, cold spots, and oppressive energy offer a chilling glimpse into the past. For those who enter its walls, the cabin provides a direct encounter with the unknown, an opportunity to experience the echoes of lives long gone and the lingering presence of those who endured the harshest winters in Colorado. It is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine, leaving visitors with memories that linger long after they have left the forested hills of Durango. Darkwater Cabin, situated near the icy, still waters of a secluded lake outside Steamboat Springs, Colorado, is a place steeped in tragic history and chilling lore. Built in the early 1900s as a secluded retreat for families and travelers seeking the pristine beauty of the Rocky Mountains, the cabin sits quietly among dense pines, its weathered logs and stone chimney blending with the natural surroundings. At first glance, Darkwater Cabin appears serene, a perfect getaway from the bustle of modern life. Yet beneath its rustic charm lies a darker story, one marked by drownings, grief, and inexplicable phenomena that have given the cabin a reputation as one of the most haunted in the region. The cabin's history is inseparable from the lake that lies just beyond its porch. Decades ago, several drownings occurred along the frozen or icy edges of the water, some involving children and others adults who succumbed to accidents or the treacherous winter ice. The tragedies left a lasting impression on the local community, and over time, stories began to circulate of strange occurrences near the lake and within the cabin itself. Visitors have reported hearing the distant sound of splashing water, even when the lake remains perfectly still, and faint cries of children that seem to drift through the cold night air, echoing as though replaying the events of the past. Guests approaching Darkwater Cabin often notice an immediate drop in temperature, a chill that intensifies near the lake-facing windows and the cabin's upper loft. The cold is sudden and localized, cutting through even the thickest clothing and creating a sense of unease that lingers as visitors step inside. Many describe the feeling as a physical pressure, a heaviness in the chest, accompanied by a subtle impression that someone or something is observing them. The cabin's interior, though cozy with its log beams and stone hearth, seems to amplify this sensation, making even ordinary movements feel fraught with tension. Unexplained sounds are perhaps the most persistent phenomena at Darkwater. Cabin witnesses frequently report hearing splashes, as if someone were stepping into or struggling in the lake, even when the water is frozen solid. These sounds are often accompanied by faint cries, sometimes clearly identifiable as those of children, other times muffled or distant. Guests have recounted hearing the cries grow louder or closer as they move through the cabin, only to vanish when they attempt to pinpoint the source. The auditory experiences are so vivid that many visitors find themselves pausing at the windows, staring at the lake in disbelief, wondering whether the sounds originate from the present or are echoes from the past. In addition to auditory phenomena, visual experiences are reported at the cabin and along the shoreline. Some visitors claim to see fleeting shapes on the lake or at the water as edged shadowy figures that appear to be moving or playing, then disappear without explanation. Others describe misty, indistinct apparitions near the cabin's porch or loft windows, sometimes resembling children or adults in early 20th century clothing. These visual encounters are often accompanied by a sudden sense of melancholy or dread, as if the tragic history of the drownings is pressing upon those who witness it. The loft of Darkwater Cabin is frequently described as the epicenter of paranormal activity. Guests report sudden gusts of cold air, objects shifting slightly, and the eerie sensation of unseen presences moving among them. Shadowy forms are often glimpsed in the corners of the room, and footsteps are sometimes heard on the wooden floorboards above or below, even when the cabin is empty. Paranormal investigators have noted that electronic voice phenomena, EVP sessions in the loft, often capture faint cries or whispered phrases, as if the voices of the drowned are attempting to communicate across the decades. The cabin's remote location contributes to its haunting atmosphere. Nestled among tall pines, with a frozen lake at its feet, It is isolated from other buildings and roads, which amplifies the sense of solitude and vulnerability. At night, the forest is silent, except for the occasional rustle of wildlife or the wind through the branches, making the unexplained sounds from the lake and cabin all the more unnerving. The reflection of moonlight on the ice sometimes reveals subtle movements or shadows that cannot be attributed to wind or animals, adding to the sense that the cabin is a threshold between the living and the departed. Historical records and local lore suggest that the drownings left a profound impact on the area, and the energy of those tragedies may be what manifests today. Paranormal experts describe the phenomenon as residual energy, a kind of imprint left behind by intense, emotional, or traumatic events. In the case of Darkwater Cabin, the repeated occurrences of splashing, cries, cold spots, and apparitions suggest that the lake and cabin have retained the echoes of past suffering. Visitors often sense a replaying of those tragic moments, as though the spirits are forever caught in the events that claimed them. Those who visit Darkwater Cabin often leave with a mixture of fascination and unease. While the natural beauty of the surrounding forest and frozen lake is undeniable, the combination of unexplained sounds, apparitions, and oppressive cold creates an atmosphere that is impossible to ignore. Many guests report that the experiences stay with them long after leaving the property, a lingering sense of sorrow, awe, and curiosity about the lives lost and the mysteries that remain unsolved. Paranormal investigations continue to document unusual activity at the cabin. Thermal imaging often detects sudden cold spots in the loft and near the windows facing the lake. Motion sensors sometimes trigger without any discernible cause, and audio equipment captures splashes, footsteps, and faint cries that cannot be explained by natural phenomena. Some skeptics suggest drafts, wildlife, or the creaking of the cabin's aged structure may account for part of the activity. Yet the consistency of reports over decades supports the belief that something beyond the ordinary persists in this location. Darkwater Cabin stands as a haunting testament to the interplay between history, tragedy, and the unexplained. Its frozen lake, shadowed forest, and century-old timbers provide a chilling backdrop for the echoes of lives lost to harsh winter accidents. From the splashes that disturb still water to the cries of children drifting across the air, the cabin offers a direct encounter with the past, a place where sorrow, memory, and the supernatural converge in a way that is impossible to ignore. For those willing to venture to Steamboat Springs and step inside its shadowed rooms, Darkwater Cabin provides a haunting experience that lingers long after the visitor has left the frozen shores behind. Raven's Nest Cabin, perched high atop a densely forested hill near Nederland, Colorado, is a secluded retreat with a reputation that extends far beyond its scenic views. Constructed in the early 1900s as a getaway for those seeking solitude in the mountains, the cabin's rustic charm, with its weathered wooden beams, stone hearth, and wraparound porch, masks a much darker presence. Over the decades, stories have emerged of cold drafts that defy explanation, shadowy figures that vanish when confronted, and a lingering sense of unease that makes even brief visits unforgettable. Raven's Nest is widely regarded as one of the most haunted cabins in the region, attracting both thrill-seekers and paranormal investigators drawn to its foreboding energy. Visitors often notice the cabin's unsettling atmosphere before they even step inside. The path leading to the property is narrow and steep, lined with towering pines that block sunlight and cast long, shifting shadows. The higher elevation creates a natural isolation, giving the cabin a sense of seclusion that feels both peaceful and ominous. As one approaches, the air often grows colder, even during mild weather, and a heavy, almost tangible tension seems to hang in the forest. This sensation intensifies when entering the cabin, where the weight of decades of reported paranormal activity seems to press upon those who step across the threshold. The most commonly reported phenomenon at Raven's Nest Cabin is the persistent presence of cold drafts. Unlike typical gusts of air, these chills often move unpredictably through the rooms, following guests no matter where they go. Some have described feeling the cold envelop them completely, leaving their skin prickling and their breath visible even on warm days. The drafts appear concentrated near doorways, corners, and windows, but they are not limited to these areas. Sometimes, following people from room to room, many visitors report a heightened sense of vulnerability during these moments, as though the cabin itself is aware of their movements and is responding in a deliberate, unseen manner. Equally unsettling are the black shadows that inhabit the corners of the cabin. Witnesses describe seeing vague, human-like silhouettes that seem to cling to the edges of walls or ceilings. These shadows are rarely fully formed, often appearing as inky, amorphous shapes. Yet their presence is unmistakable. Attempts to approach or confront these figures are met with frustration. By the time someone moves closer, the shadows vanish completely, leaving only the natural darkness of the cabin's corners behind. The fleeting nature of these apparitions adds to the sense of unease, creating a perception that the cabin is alive with entities that cannot be fully understood or captured. Historical accounts suggest the Raven's Nest cabin may carry a legacy of tragedy that contributes to its haunting. While concrete records are sparse, local lore indicates that the land upon which the cabin was built was once the site of accidents, misfortunes, and unexplained deaths. Some speculate that early occupants may have suffered illness, injury, or even violent encounters, leaving behind emotional energy that now manifests as cold drafts and shadowy presences. Paranormal experts refer to this phenomenon as residual energy, the imprint of intense emotion left in a location, replaying subtly or dramatically for those who enter the space decades later. Visitors often describe auditory phenomena accompanying the visual and tactile experiences. The cabin's wooden floors occasionally creak under no visible weight, footsteps echoing through hallways and lofts when no one is present. Doors may open or close on their own, and objects are sometimes found shifted or moved without explanation. Guests have recounted hearing soft whispers that seem to float along the walls, unintelligible but laden with the weight of sadness or warning. These auditory manifestations, combined with the drafts and shadows, create an immersive and unnerving experience that few forget. The cabin's loft and upper rooms are particularly active, according to reports. Here, the cold drafts are most intense, and shadowy figures are more frequently glimpsed along the eaves and corners. The loft's exposed beams and angled ceiling amplify sounds and shadows, turning minor movements or noises into experiences that feel charged with supernatural presence. Guests describe a sensation of being watched from above, a subtle pressure that follows them even as they explore other areas of the cabin. Paranormal investigators have documented these areas extensively, capturing unusual readings on thermal cameras, unexplained movements on motion sensors, and audio recordings of whispers, footsteps, and soft knocks. The surrounding forest enhances the cabin's eerie ambience. Dense trees block sunlight and create deep shadows, while the wind through the pines produces natural sounds that sometimes mimic human voices or footsteps. At dusk, the forest becomes nearly silent, amplifying even the smallest noises within the cabin. Guests report that the line between inside and outside seems to blur at night, with shadows moving in the windows and unexplained reflections appearing on the walls. The combination of isolation, natural acoustics, and visual obscurity makes Raven's Nest an environment in which the paranormal seems especially potent. Despite its unsettling reputation, the cabin continues to attract visitors. Some come out of curiosity, others for the thrill of encountering the unknown, and paranormal investigators for research. Many report mixed feelings of fear and fascination, drawn to the cabin's beauty, history, and the palpable sense of mystery. Even brief experiences, catching a shadow moving from the corner of the eye, feeling a cold draft follow them, or hearing a whisper in an empty room, leave lasting impressions that linger long after leaving the property. Raven's Nest Cabin stands as a chilling testament to the power of isolation, history, and the unexplained. Its shadows, drafts, and haunting energy create an immersive experience in which visitors confront the unknown directly. The cabin's high perch on the forested hill, combined with decades of reported paranormal activity, ensures that its legacy of mystery will endure. For those willing to explore its shadowed rooms and wind-swept porches, Raven's Nest provides an encounter with the supernatural that is as memorable as it is unsettling, a place where the past and present seem to merge and where the unseen continues to linger in every corner. The hollowed cabin, perched on a secluded ridge near Aspen, Colorado, is an abandoned hunting lodge whose dark history has earned it a reputation as one of the region's most haunted locations. Constructed in the early 1900s, the cabin was a rustic retreat for hunters and adventurers drawn to the surrounding forests and mountains. Its solid log walls, stone chimney, and wide porches reflect the craftsmanship of the era, providing a sense of warmth and security even in the harsh mountain winters. However, since its abandonment in the 1930s, the hollowed cabin has become infamous for its paranormal activity, attracting ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and curious travelers eager to experience the unexplained events reported by those who have dared to enter. Visitors approaching the hollowed cabin often sense something unusual long before crossing the threshold. The winding trail that leads to the property is flanked by dense pine and fir trees, casting long shadows that stretch unnaturally across the ground. A chill often permeates the air, even on warmer days, creating an atmosphere of anticipation and unease. Many describe feeling watched as they navigate the overgrown path, a subtle tension that grows heavier with each step closer to the cabin. By the time they reach the weathered front door, most visitors report a tangible sense of the building's presence, as though the cabin itself is aware of their arrival. Inside, the haunting phenomena become even more pronounced. One of the most commonly reported experiences is the sudden and dramatic drops in temperature. Guests frequently describe moving from one room to another and being struck by cold air that seems to materialize from nowhere. These chills are often localized, freezing specific areas while the surrounding space remains comparatively warm. Some visitors have felt icy drafts following them from room to room, creating a persistent sense of unease and the impression that an unseen presence is moving alongside them. The cold often intensifies in the upper floors of the cabin, where the structural layout and exposed beams amplify the sensation. Another eerie feature of the hollowed cabin is the appearance of ghostly footprints that manifest overnight. Visitors and investigators alike have reported finding distinct shoe or boot impressions in the dust and dirt of the cabin's floors, often leading to areas where no one has been. These footprints appear fresh each morning, yet vanish without explanation or trace, as though left by an invisible occupant, retracing the steps of someone long gone. Paranormal researchers suggest that these prints could be residual manifestations of the lodge's past residents or hunters who frequented the cabin decades ago, replaying moments frozen in time. The upper floors of the cabin are particularly active. Paranormal investigators have documented multiple sightings of figures moving through the lofts and bedrooms, often appearing only briefly before vanishing entirely. Some witnesses describe shadowy silhouettes gliding across the floors, while others report more defined human-like figures dressed in early 20th century clothing, suggesting a connection to the cabin's original occupants. These apparitions are most frequently observed during quiet hours, when the forest outside is still, and the cabin's interior amplifies every creak of the old wooden floors. The presence of these figures creates a chilling atmosphere, particularly for those who wander the upper rooms alone. Auditory phenomena further enhance the cabin's haunted reputation. Guests frequently hear footsteps, soft knocks, and the creaking of floorboards when no one is present. Occasionally, voices are reported, ranging from indistinct whispers to faint calls or warnings, which seem to emanate from the walls themselves. Some have described the sensation of hearing conversations from the past, as though the cabin is replaying fragments of life that occurred long before the building was abandoned. These sounds are often accompanied by the visual manifestations and cold spots, creating a fully immersive paranormal experience. The architecture of the hollowed cabin contributes to its eerie ambience. Low ceilings, narrow hallways, and small, enclosed rooms amplify sounds and shadows, making even minor movements feel charged with significance. The lofts, with their exposed beams and slanted ceilings, create angles where shadows stretch unnaturally and unexpected gusts of wind can ripple through the space. Stone hearths, once the center of warmth and gathering, are now sites of repeated activity, with cold drafts or sudden movements frequently reported near the fireplaces. The rustic charm of the cabin, once comforting, now serves as a backdrop for the inexplicable, creating a sense that the building itself holds memories of its past. The surrounding forest adds to the unsettling atmosphere. Towering trees, dense undergrowth, and steep slopes create a natural isolation, which enhances both the visual and auditory effects of paranormal activity. At dusk, when the sunlight fades and shadows lengthen, the cabin appears to transform. Lights from flashlights or cameras seem to flicker unnaturally. Shadows shift across walls and ceilings, and the sounds of the forest blend with unexplained noises from within the cabin. Hikers and visitors who merely approach the cabin often report a sense of foreboding, feeling the weight of history and unexplained events long before they enter. Historical context suggests that the cabin's reputation is rooted in real events. Abandoned in the 1930s, the hollowed cabin witnessed decades of human activity before it fell into disuse. Its occupants faced harsh winters, isolation, and the challenges of mountain life. With accidents and illness not uncommon, paranormal experts often attribute the haunting to residual energy, the emotional imprint of past lives replaying through the building. The upper floors, where the original bedrooms were located, appear to retain the strongest energy, manifesting as apparitions, cold spots, and unexplained movements. Despite its reputation, the hollowed cabin continues to draw visitors. For some, it is the allure of history. For others, the thrill of the unknown. Guests describe a mix of fear and fascination, captivated by the cabin's rustic charm, while simultaneously aware of the supernatural energy within. Many leave with vivid memories, the sudden chills that follow them through rooms, the ghostly footprints that appear overnight, and the shadowy figures that vanish as quickly as they appear. The hollowed cabin stands as a chilling intersection of history, isolation, and the unexplained. For those willing to explore its weathered floors and shadowed lofts, the cabin offers an unforgettable encounter with the supernatural, a place where the echoes of lives long gone continue to linger among the timberstone and the silent forest surrounding Aspen. Pine Mist Cabin, nestled in the high-altitude mountains near Leadville, Colorado, is a rustic retreat with a reputation that blends the natural beauty of the Rockies with the eerie echoes of a bygone mining era. Built in the early 1900s as a haven for travelers and prospectors, the cabin sits on a wind-swept ridge surrounded by dense pine forests and mist-shrouded peaks, giving it an almost otherworldly presence. Its weathered logs, stone chimney, and simple wooden interiors reflect the craftsmanship of the period, but it is the stories and experiences shared by visitors that have solidified Pine Mist Cabin's reputation as one of the most haunted sites in the region. The cabin's history is closely tied to Leadville's mining past. Once a booming hub for silver and gold mining, the surrounding mountains were filled with the sounds of pickaxes striking rock, shouts of miners communicating through tunnels, and the rhythmic clang of tools against metal. Pine Mist Cabin served as a temporary residence for many of these workers, offering shelter from harsh weather and a place to rest after long days in the mines. Over time, as the mines were abandoned and the workforce dispersed, tales began to emerge of lingering presences, as though the miners themselves never truly left the area. Visitors to Pine Mist Cabin often report an immediate sensation of stepping into another time. Even in the quiet of modern life, the air seems thick with history, carrying a subtle weight that presses upon the senses. The forested surroundings amplify this feeling, with shifting shadows and drifting mists, creating an atmosphere that feels both serene and unsettling. As guests approach the cabin, some report hearing faint, almost imperceptible sounds that resemble singing or chanting, as if miners were working in distant tunnels hidden beneath the mountains. The noises are often fleeting, vanishing as quickly as they appear, yet they leave a lingering sense that the land itself is alive with memories. Inside the cabin, the paranormal activity becomes more pronounced. Guests frequently report hearing the clanging of tools and the rhythmic tapping of picks and hammers. Even when the structure is empty, the sounds often seem to echo from below, as though the basement or even the earth itself is the source. Some visitors describe these noises as coordinated, almost musical, reminiscent of old miners' songs or chants meant to keep spirits high during long shifts underground. Others hear individual footsteps, the scrape of boots across wooden floors, or the distant rumble of rocks shifting in tunnels that may no longer exist. The most active areas of Pine Mist Cabin appear to be the main living room and the loft. In these spaces, guests have reported sudden drops in temperature, cold spots that seem to move with them, and objects shifting slightly without explanation. Shadows are commonly seen in the corners or along the walls, sometimes taking on vague human shapes before disappearing. Some witnesses claim to have seen fleeting figures resembling miners, wearing period clothing and carrying tools, moving silently through the rooms or along the exterior porch. These visions are often accompanied by the auditory phenomena, creating a fully immersive and haunting experience. The cabin's loft, with its angled ceilings and exposed beams, is particularly prone to paranormal occurrences. Footsteps are often heard pacing above, though no one is present, and visitors have reported glimpsing shapes flitting through the rafters or peering out of small windows. The confined spaces of the loft amplify every sound, making even the faintest creaks feel ominous. Many describe a sensation of being watched, as though unseen eyes are tracking their every movement, a feeling that is heightened by the rustic architecture and the dense forest surrounding the cabin. Outside the cabin, the landscape itself seems to play a role in the haunting. Leadville's high-altitude terrain is often shrouded in mist, giving the mountains a ghostly, ethereal appearance. Visitors walking through the surrounding pine forests have reported hearing distant singing, the rhythmic strike of picks against stone, and the murmur of voices carried on the wind. Some claim to see shadows moving along ridges or catch glimpses of figures disappearing behind trees, suggesting that the spirits of miners continue to linger in the environment where they once toiled. Even hikers who do not enter the cabin report a sense of unease or the feeling that they are being observed by unseen presences. Historical accounts of Pine Mist Cabin suggest that the lingering activity may be rooted in real events. During the mining boom of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, accidents and deaths were common in the area. From cave-ins and avalanches to exposure and illness, paranormal experts believe that the intense emotions and repeated labor in these confined and dangerous spaces may have left residual energy that manifests as auditory and visual phenomena. The miners' songs, the clanging of tools, and the apparitions could all be echoes of past lives, replaying in a location where their memory has become intertwined with the landscape itself. Despite its reputation, Pine Mist Cabin continues to attract visitors for both its historical significance and its paranormal allure. Hikers, history enthusiasts, and paranormal investigators come to experience the unique combination of natural beauty and supernatural activity. Many report a mixture of awe and unease, captivated by the haunting atmosphere while remaining aware of the unexplained phenomena. The combination of mist-shrouded pines, echoing miners' songs, and spectral figures creates an immersive experience that is both thrilling and unnerving. Pine Mist Cabin stands as a testament to the enduring power of memory, history, and the unexplained. Its connection to Leadville's mining past, combined with the persistent auditory and visual phenomena, ensures that it remains a site of fascination and fear. Visitors often leave with vivid recollections of ghostly miners, cold drafts, and the rhythmic sounds of tools striking stone. A haunting reminder that the spirits of the past continue to echo through the mountains. For those who venture into its shadowed rooms and surrounding forests, Pine Mist Cabin offers a glimpse into a world where history and the supernatural are inseparably intertwined, a place where the echoes of labor, hardship, and human presence linger long after the last pickaxe has fallen. Foggy Hollow Cabin, tucked away in the misty valleys near Buena Vista, Colorado, is a place where the beauty of the surrounding mountains is matched only by the unsettling presence that has lingered for decades. Constructed in the early 1900s as a rustic retreat for travelers and settlers, the cabin stands amidst rolling hills and dense forests, where morning fog often blankets the valley, shrouding the landscape in a thick, almost otherworldly veil. At first glance, the cabin seems serene, a perfect escape into nature. Yet its history is marred by tragedy, and those who have spent time there speak of chilling encounters that suggest the spirit of a young woman still roams the property, unable to find peace. The legend surrounding Foggy Hollow cabin tells of a young woman who perished there under mysterious circumstances in the early years of its occupancy. While records are incomplete, local lore suggests that she may have been a resident or guest who suffered an untimely death, her life cut short in the cold, isolated wilderness. Some accounts indicate that she was lost to illness or accident, while others hint at darker possibilities. Regardless of the details, her story has been etched into the history of the cabin, and many believe that her presence lingers in the dense fog that rolls through the valley each morning. Visitors often describe a sensation of sorrow in the air, an emotional weight that seems to cling to the cabin and the surrounding landscape. Approaching Foggy Hollow cabin in the early hours, when the mist is heaviest, can be an eerie experience. The fog thickens along the winding path through the forest, muffling sounds and creating shadows that shift unpredictably. Many visitors report a feeling of being watched as they draw near, an intangible sensation that grows stronger as they step onto the cabin's weathered porch. The mist itself seems alive, curling around the trees and cabin walls in ways that almost mimic human movement. Even before entering, there is a palpable sense of unease, a prelude to the encounters that await inside and around the property. Once inside, the cabin's haunting becomes more pronounced. Guests often hear soft sobbing that appears to emanate from nowhere, echoing faintly through the wooden rooms. The cries are distinct and mournful, sometimes seeming to draw closer as visitors move through the cabin, only to fade when one attempts to follow the sound. This auditory phenomenon is most commonly reported in the bedrooms and loft, areas where the young woman may have once spent her time. Some visitors have described feeling a sudden chill, a drop in temperature that seems to accompany the sobbing, as if the very air is charged with the presence of the restless spirit. Visual encounters are also common at Foggy Hollow cabin. Witnesses frequently report seeing faint silhouettes in the morning fog, sometimes glimpsed through the windows or drifting along the edge of the forest. These figures are often described as delicate, human-like forms that seem to move with purpose, yet remain indistinct, as if partially hidden between worlds. On occasion, a figure resembling a young woman, dressed in period clothing, is reported near the cabin's porch or along the fog-laden path. She vanishes when approached, leaving only the mist and the sound of her sobs behind. These fleeting glimpses reinforce the feeling that the cabin is haunted by a presence tied to both the physical location and the ever-present fog. The interior of the cabin amplifies the sense of the supernatural. The wooden floors creak underfoot, echoing unnaturally in the small rooms and narrow hallways. Visitors often hear what sounds like soft footsteps following them, yet when they turn, no one is there. Doors may open or close on their own, and objects occasionally shift slightly, as though moved by invisible hands. Paranormal investigators have recorded these events, capturing audio of indistinct whispers, occasional footsteps, and the faint sound of sobbing that cannot be explained by the natural environment. Many experts attribute these manifestations to residual energy, the lingering emotional imprint of the young woman who perished at the cabin decades ago. The fog surrounding the cabin plays a central role in the haunting. In the early morning hours, it thickens along the forest floor and drifts through the trees, creating an eerie landscape where visibility is limited and shadows appear to move with intention. Visitors report that sounds, whether natural or supernatural, carry strangely through the mist, giving the impression of movement and presence even when the cabin is empty. The interplay of fog, sound, and shadow enhances the perception that the young woman's spirit continues to wander the property, bound to the location by unfinished business or unresolved grief. Historical research and local accounts suggest that the cabin's reputation is grounded in more than folklore. The harsh winters and remote location of Foggy Hollow Cabin meant that early occupants faced danger and isolation, with accidents and deaths not uncommon. Paranormal experts theorize that such emotionally charged events can leave a lasting imprint, manifesting as visual, auditory, and physical phenomena decades later. The persistent reports of sobbing, cold drafts, and moving shadows suggest that the young woman's presence remains active, interacting with the environment and the people who enter her former domain. Despite the unsettling experiences reported, the cabin continues to draw visitors, particularly those interested in paranormal investigation or seeking a unique connection to the past. Hikers and history enthusiasts often visit the area to explore the fog-laden paths and to observe the cabin from both near and afar. Many describe a mixture of awe and apprehension, captivated by the natural beauty of the valley, while remaining acutely aware of the supernatural energy that permeates the property. Witnesses leave with vivid memories, the sensation of being watched, the fleeting silhouettes in the mist, and the haunting sobs that echo long after the fog has lifted. Foggy Hollow Cabin stands as a chilling testament to tragedy, isolation, and the unexplained. Its dense morning fog, spectral figures, and sorrowful sounds create an immersive experience that connects visitors to the past in deeply emotional ways. For those willing to brave the misty paths and shadowed rooms, the cabin offers a haunting encounter with a restless spirit, a place where the echoes of sorrow continue to linger, and where the boundary between the living and the departed feels almost imperceptible. Bear Creek Cabin, perched on a rugged slope near Silverton, Colorado, is a secluded mountain retreat with a reputation that extends far beyond its rustic charm. Built in the early 1900s as a shelter for miners, hunters, and travelers braving the harsh Rocky Mountain winters, the cabin's sturdy log construction, stone fireplace, and small loft reflect the practical craftsmanship of the era. Yet beneath its quaint exterior lies a history steeped in danger, tragedy, and a haunting presence that has persisted for over a century. The cabin is infamous for sudden cold spots, inexplicable movements of objects, and eerie noises that have unsettled even the most fearless visitors, earning it a place among Colorado's most haunted mountain hideaways. The history of Bear Creek Cabin is intertwined with the dangers of its remote location. Silverton, once a booming mining town, was surrounded by dense forests and jagged peaks, home to both natural hazards and wildlife. Bear attacks were not uncommon, and the area saw its share of fatalities among miners and travelers who underestimated the unforgiving environment. Harsh winters claimed lives when snowstorms trapped or stranded those unprepared for the mountain cold. Local lore suggests that some of these tragic events left lingering energies within the cabin, manifesting decades later as the paranormal activity that visitors now report. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at Bear Creek Cabin is the presence of cold spots. Guests often describe moving from one room to another, only to be struck by sudden drops in temperature that seem to materialize from nowhere. These chills are not localized to drafts or open windows. They appear in fully enclosed spaces, sometimes following visitors as they explore the cabin. Some have reported feeling the cold concentrate around corners, the fireplace, or even the loft, areas historically associated with past residents or occupants who may have perished within the cabin's walls. The sensation of cold at Bear Creek Cabin is often accompanied by a creeping unease, as if an invisible presence is close by, observing every move. Alongside the cold spots, moving objects are a frequent occurrence. Guests have reported doors opening or closing on their own, chairs shifting slightly, and small items like books or lanterns being displaced without explanation. The loft area is particularly active, with visitors noting that objects sometimes fall from shelves or shift positions as if handled by unseen hands. Paranormal investigators suggest that this activity may be a form of poltergeist manifestation, energy left behind from traumatic events reacting to the presence of living visitors. The unpredictability of these movements adds to the cabin's unsettling atmosphere, leaving guests hyper-aware of every creak and shuffle within the cabin. Sudden, Inexplicable noises are another hallmark of Bear Creek Cabin's haunting. Footsteps, the scraping of boots on wooden floors, and low thuds echo through the rooms when no one is present. Some visitors describe hearing the distant roar of a bear, even when the forest outside is silent, as if the echoes of past encounters still linger. Others have heard muffled cries or whispers that vanish when approached, heightening the sense that the cabin is not empty, but instead occupied by unseen spirits, replaying events from its troubled past. The combination of cold spots, moving objects, and sudden noises creates an immersive experience that blurs the line between the natural and the supernatural. The cabin's loft and upper areas are particularly active, with their exposed beams and angled ceilings. These spaces amplify sounds and shadows, making minor noises seem unnervingly close. Visitors often feel a presence above them, footsteps pacing across the floorboards when no one is there. Some have glimpsed shadowy forms in the corners of the loft, fleeting figures that vanish when approached. These upper rooms, once live-in spaces for the cabin's early occupants, appear to retain a strong imprint of past energy, contributing to the persistent sense of being watched throughout the structure. The surrounding forest enhances the eerie atmosphere of Bear Creek Cabin. Dense pines, craggy outcroppings, and the roar of nearby Bear Creek itself create an environment where natural sounds can easily be mistaken for something supernatural. At night, the wind through the trees can mimic whispers, while shifting shadows play tricks on the eye. Visitors often report that the sounds and movements within the cabin seem to extend beyond its walls, merging with the forest and the creek, creating a sense that the spirits tied to the cabin's history are not confined to the building, but continue to wander the surrounding land. Historical context offers insight into the haunting. The combination of wildlife attacks, tragic deaths during severe winters, and the isolation of the location may have contributed to residual energy left behind by past occupants. Paranormal experts suggest that the intensity of human emotion in such situations, fear, suffering, and desperation, can imprint itself on a space, manifesting as cold spots, moving objects, and auditory phenomena. Bear Creek Cabin, with its long history of danger and survival, provides a concentrated environment where these residual energies are particularly potent. Despite the unsettling nature of these experiences, Bear Creek Cabin continues to draw visitors. Some come for its historical significance, others for the thrill of encountering the paranormal. Guests often leave with vivid memories, the chilling cold that follows them from room to room, the faint sound of footsteps echoing across empty floors, and objects that seem to move of their own accord. For many, the cabin's haunting is both terrifying and fascinating, an immersive reminder of the intersection between history, nature, and the unexplained. Bear Creek Cabin stands as a testament to the enduring presence of the past. Its cold drafts, shifting objects, and mysterious noises remind visitors that the mountains hold more than natural beauty. They hold stories, memories, and spirits that refuse to fade. For those willing to brave its weathered floors and shadowed corners, the cabin offers an unforgettable encounter with the supernatural, a place where the echoes of hardship, danger, and loss continue to linger in the high-altitude wilderness of Moonshadow Cabin, perched high on a remote mountainside near Crested Butte, Colorado, is a rustic retreat shrouded in both natural beauty and eerie mystery. Constructed in the early 1900s as a shelter for miners and travelers, the cabin's log walls, stone hearth, and simple wooden interiors reflect the rugged craftsmanship of the era. Its isolation amidst steep slopes, dense forests, and fog-laden valleys gives it a dramatic presence, one that seems to hover between the natural and the supernatural. Over the decades, Moonshadow Cabin has gained a reputation for ghostly activity, drawing visitors and paranormal investigators alike eager to experience the chilling phenomena reported there. One of the cabin's most striking features is the dense moonlit fog that often envelops the property. On clear nights, the mountainside is illuminated by pale silver light, casting long shadows and transforming the surrounding forest into a labyrinth of darkness and mist. The fog seems to move with intention, curling through the trees, rolling across the porch and drifting into the cabin itself. Visitors frequently describe an immediate sense of otherworldliness upon entering the mist, as if the fog carries memories of the past or serves as a veil between worlds. In these conditions, sounds are amplified, shadows become distorted, and the presence of Moonshadow Cabin feels unusually tangible. Shadowy figures are among the most reported phenomena. Many guests have claimed to see vague, human shapes moving across the porch or along the edges of the fog outside the windows. These figures are often fleeting, appearing only for a moment before disappearing entirely, leaving no trace. Some witnesses describe the silhouettes as distinctly human, while others see more ambiguous forms that seem to shift with the fog itself. The most common experiences occurred near the cabin's main entrance and the upper windows, suggesting that the activity may be tied to the areas most associated with the cabin's former occupants. Whether the figures are residual energy, spirits, or a blend of both, they consistently leave observers with an unsettling impression of being watched. Auditory experiences are equally unnerving. Visitors frequently report hearing soft whispers calling out names, sometimes their own, sometimes names that feel unfamiliar yet intimate. The voices are generally quiet, almost too faint to discern clearly, but they create an intense psychological effect, compelling guests to look around nervously or feel a sudden urge to leave the area. Some witnesses describe the whispers as conversational, almost pleading, while others interpret them as warnings. The source of these voices remains elusive, often seeming to emanate from the fog outside, the walls of the cabin, or even from empty rooms upstairs. Physical sensations add another layer to the haunting. Guests often report the sensation of being touched by unseen hands, light brushes on the shoulder or arm that occur with no visible source. These touches are generally fleeting but unmistakable, leaving a lingering chill and a heightened sense of vulnerability. The loft area and the porch are frequently cited as spots where these sensations are strongest. Areas where the fog, shadows, and the cabin's structural features combine to produce an overwhelming sense of presence. Some paranormal investigators suggest that these touches are the result of a particularly strong residual energy or a conscious spirit attempting interaction, while skeptics attribute them to heightened fear and anticipation amplified by the environment. The interior of Moonshadow Cabin seems to amplify every paranormal effect. Low ceilings, narrow hallways, and the uneven wooden floors make ordinary sounds, like creaks or gusts of wind, appear closer and more deliberate than they actually are. Objects occasionally shift or fall, sometimes coinciding with other phenomena like whispers or sightings of shadows. Some visitors have reported doors opening and closing without explanation, as though the cabin itself is responding to the presence of living guests. The combination of auditory, visual, and tactile experiences creates a fully immersive environment, one where the natural and supernatural blend seamlessly, leaving little distinction between the two. Historical context suggests that the haunting may be tied to the cabin's past. Moonshadow Cabin served miners, trappers, and early settlers who endured the harsh mountain conditions of Crested Butte. Accidents, sudden storms, and isolation were common, and deaths may have occurred on or near the property. Paranormal experts theorize that the intense emotions associated with such events, fear, sorrow, or unresolved regret, can leave lingering impressions, manifesting as the shadowy figures, whispers, and tactile sensations reported by modern visitors. The cabin's position on the mountainside, often blanketed in fog, may act as a conduit for these energies, creating an environment that seems alive with echoes of the past. Despite the fearsome reputation of Moonshadow Cabin, it continues to draw visitors seeking both its scenic beauty and its paranormal allure. Hikers, history enthusiasts, and ghost hunters are drawn to the cabin's remote location and immersive experiences, often leaving with vivid memories of fleeting shadows, whispered names, and the sensation of unseen hands. Many describe the experience as both terrifying and captivating, a rare opportunity to witness the intersection of history, isolation, and the unexplained firsthand. Moonshadow Cabin remains a chilling testament to the mysteries that linger in the high mountains of Colorado. Its dense fog, shadowy figures, whispered names, and tactile encounters create a hauntingly immersive environment, where visitors are made vividly aware of the presence of something beyond the ordinary. For those willing to explore its misty paths, shadowed porch, and quiet interior, Moonshadow Cabin offers an unforgettable encounter with the supernatural, a place where the echoes of the past continue to reach out from the moonlit fog to remind the living that some presences never truly fade. Timber Ghost Cabin, nestled in the dense forests near Glenwood Springs, Colorado, is a secluded log retreat steeped in both history and legend. Built in the early 1900s during the height of Colorado's lumber industry, the cabin was originally a shelter for loggers working in the surrounding pine forests. Its sturdy timbered walls, heavy wooden beams, and stone fireplace reflect the craftsmanship of the era. Yet beneath its rustic charm lies a chilling reputation. Over the decades, Timber Ghost Cabin has become known as one of the region's most haunted sites, attracting visitors, paranormal investigators, and thrill seekers eager to experience the eerie phenomena reported by those who have dared to stay there. The cabin's haunting is closely tied to a tragic event that occurred shortly after its construction. According to local lore, a lumberjack lost his life in a catastrophic accident while felling trees near the property. Some accounts describe a falling tree striking him unexpectedly, while others claim he became trapped under logs during a storm. Witnesses at the time reportedly saw his spirit wandering the timbered areas around the cabin, mourning his lost life and unfinished work. Over the years, these reports evolved into a series of strange and unexplained occurrences that persist to this day, giving Timber Ghost Cabin its ominous name. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at Timber Ghost Cabin is the sound of tools operating without human presence. Guests frequently hear the rhythmic sawing of wood, the chopping of axes, and the dull thud of logs hitting the ground. These sounds often occur in areas where no one is present, echoing across the timber-bird interior or from the surrounding forest. Some visitors describe the noises as continuous, while others hear brief episodes that start and stop abruptly, as though the lumberjack spirit is replaying his work or continuing a task left unfinished. Paranormal investigators have recorded these sounds during overnight stays, capturing audio that cannot be attributed to natural causes or human activity. Shadowy figures are another hallmark of Timber Ghost Cabin's haunting. Visitors report seeing fleeting shapes along the timbered walls, often described as tall and broad-shouldered, resembling a man in early logging attire. These figures appear briefly, sometimes framed in doorways or near the fireplace, before vanishing as if they were never there. Some witnesses claim to see movement at the edges of their vision, glimpses of someone walking or standing silently in the corner, only for the space to be empty when they turn to face it directly. These encounters leave guests with a profound sense of unease, as though the lumberjack is still present, walking among the living and observing every action. The cabin's interior seems to amplify these paranormal experiences. The thick timbered walls, narrow hallways, and uneven floors make ordinary sounds, creaks, settling wood, and wind through the windows, appear more deliberate and menacing. Objects have been reported to move on their own. Chairs shift slightly, tools fall from shelves, and doors open or close without explanation. Some visitors describe cold drafts that follow them from room to room, particularly near the loft and main work area, reinforcing the feeling that an unseen presence is actively moving within the cabin. The combination of auditory, visual, and tactile phenomena creates a deeply immersive and unsettling experience. The surrounding forest adds another dimension to the haunting. Timber Ghost Cabin sits among dense pines, with steep slopes and thick underbrush that obscure the landscape. At night, the forest becomes a shadowy maze where sounds of wildlife are often mistaken for supernatural activity. Yet many visitors report that the noises and movements seem to originate from the cabin itself rather than the surrounding wilderness. Occasional glimpses of figures among the trees, echoing footsteps, or the sudden snapping of branches reinforce the impression that the lumberjack spirit may extend beyond the cabin. wandering the forests he once worked in life. Paranormal experts suggest that the haunting may be tied to the emotional intensity of the lumberjack's death. Sudden accidents, particularly those involving fear, pain, or unfinished work, can leave residual energy that manifests as repeated sounds, figures, or sensations. In Timber Ghost Cabin, the combination of historical tragedy, the close quarters of the timber-bird interior, and the dense forest surrounding the property create an environment where such residual energy can be especially potent. The continuous sounds of saws, axes, and falling logs are thought to be manifestations of the lumberjack's lingering presence, echoing the work he loved or the life he was forced to abandon. Despite its haunted reputation, Timber Ghost Cabin continues to attract visitors. Paranormal enthusiasts, history buffs, and thrill-seekers alike are drawn to its isolated location and the chance to witness unexplained phenomena firsthand. Guests often leave with vivid memories, the cold drafts that seem to follow them, the faint but distinct sounds of tools moving without human presence, and the shadowy figures glimpsed along the timbered walls. Many describe a combination of fear and fascination, captivated by the sense that the cabin is not just a relic of the past, but a living monument to the spirit of the lumberjack who never truly left. Timber Ghost's Cabin stands as a haunting reminder of the past, where the boundaries between the living and the dead seem blurred. Its soundscape of phantom tools, fleeting shadow figures, and cold, shifting air create a space where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge. For those brave enough to enter its timberbird halls, the cabin offers a chilling encounter with a restless spirit, a place where the echoes of labor, life, and untimely death continue to linger silently, observing all who enter the forested mountains near Glenwood Springs. Frost Hollow Cabin, nestled high in the snow-laden mountains near Vail, Colorado, is a secluded winter retreat that has long captured the imagination of locals and visitors alike. Built in the early 1900s as a rustic getaway for mountaineers and early settlers seeking refuge from the harsh alpine winters, the cabin's log walls, stone hearth, and steeply pitched roof reflect the practical craftsmanship necessary for surviving in such a remote, frozen environment. Yet, beyond its charming exterior and picturesque surroundings, Frost Hollow Cabin has earned a reputation for strange and unsettling activity. Over the decades, numerous visitors have reported cold spots, moving furniture, and sightings of ghostly apparitions, often dressed in heavy winter clothing from long ago, giving the cabin a chilling and otherworldly aura during the harsh mountain months. The cabin's haunting seems most pronounced during winter, when snow blankets the surrounding forests and the temperatures plunge well below freezing. Guests frequently describe sudden drops in temperature inside the cabin, even when the fireplace burns brightly and the windows are securely closed. These cold spots appear without explanation, forming in particular areas such as the loft, hallways, and near the old kitchen. Visitors often report feeling a distinct chill that follows them as they move from room to room, sometimes accompanied by the sensation of being watched or a subtle pressure on their shoulders or back as though an invisible presence is nearby. These unexplained cold patches are often the first indication that Frost Hollow Cabin is not an ordinary retreat but a place steeped in lingering energy from the past. Alongside the cold spots, moving furniture is another hallmark of the cabin's strange phenomena. Chairs, tables, and even small chests have been observed shifting positions or tilting as if nudged by unseen hands. Some visitors report that objects occasionally fall from shelves or cupboards, often coinciding with other odd occurrences, such as unexplained noises or shadows passing along the walls. Paranormal investigators suggest that these movements may be a form of residual energy, a lingering imprint of past occupants reacting to the presence of visitors. In Frost Hollow Cabin, the combination of creaking wooden floors, shifting snow outside, and the natural acoustics of the log walls amplifies these occurrences, making them feel more immediate and unsettling. Perhaps the most striking and frequently reported activity involves apparitions seen throughout the cabin. Guests have described figures wearing heavy winter clothing reminiscent of the early 20th century, complete with thick coats, scarves, and boots. appearing briefly in the loft, hallway, or even standing silently near the fireplace. These spectral figures are often observed out of the corner of the eye, vanishing when directly looked at, leaving only the lingering feeling of a presence. Some witnesses report multiple figures at once, moving slowly or performing tasks as if they were frozen in time, replaying moments from decades past. The apparitions appear most commonly during the late evening or early morning hours, when the cabin is enveloped in darkness, and the snow outside muffles ordinary sounds, heightening the sense of isolation and vulnerability. Auditory phenomena further contribute to Frost Hollow Cabin's eerie reputation. Visitors have reported hearing muffled footsteps across the loft, faint creaking of floorboards, and whispers that seem to drift through the hallways. The sounds often coincide with the appearance of apparitions or the movement of furniture, suggesting an unseen presence actively interacting with the environment. Some describe hearing the crackling of distant fireplaces, conversations in hushed tones, or the scraping of snow and boots just outside the cabin, even when no one is present. These sounds, combined with the visual and tactile experiences, create an immersive and haunting environment that many find difficult to forget. The cabin's location deep in the Vale Mountains adds to the intensity of these experiences. Surrounded by dense pine forests, steep slopes, and snow-covered peaks, Frost Hollow Cabin sits in near-complete isolation during winter months. The landscape itself seems to amplify the haunting, with gusts of wind through the trees mimicking footsteps or whispers, and shadows from snow-laden branches stretching unnaturally across the cabin's walls. The natural environment merges with the cabin's history to create a sense that the spirits inhabiting Frost Hollow are not confined solely to the interior, but continue to roam the surrounding land, their presence lingering in the snow, trees, and icy air. Historical context offers insight into the cabin's enduring hauntings. Frost Hollow Cabin was originally occupied by mountaineers, early settlers, and skiers seeking refuge during brutal winters, some of whom perished due to exposure, avalanches, or accidents. Paranormal experts theorized that the intense emotions associated with such events, fear, cold, desperation, and death can leave an imprint on a space, resulting in residual phenomena. In this case, the apparitions in heavy winter clothing, the cold spots, and the shifting furniture may all be echoes of the hardships and tragedies experienced in the cabin over the past century. Despite its chilling reputation, Frost Hollow Cabin continues to attract visitors. Skiers, hikers, history enthusiasts, and paranormal investigators are drawn by both its natural beauty and the allure of experiencing something beyond the ordinary. Guests often leave with vivid memories, the icy drafts that seem to follow them, furniture moving with no visible cause, and glimpses of figures from a bygone era performing tasks long forgotten. Many describe a sense of awe intertwined with fear, captivated by the thought that the cabin is alive not only with history, but with lingering spirits who refuse to rest. Frost Hollow Cabin remains a striking example of how the past and present can intertwine, especially in the isolated, snow-covered wilderness of the Vale Mountains. Its cold spots, moving furniture, and ghostly apparitions in heavy winter attire create a hauntingly immersive experience for those who dare to spend time within its timbered walls. For those willing to brave the icy paths and shadowed interior, Frost Hollow Cabin offers a glimpse into a world where the hardships and tragedies of the past continue to echo, leaving an indelible mark on the living who cross its threshold. Red Pine Cabin, nestled in the dense forests near Woodland Park, Colorado, is a rustic mountain retreat with a long history marked by tragedy and unexplained phenomena. Built in the late 1800s, the cabin originally served as a shelter for miners and early settlers navigating the rugged wilderness. Its heavy timber walls, stone fireplace, and simple interior reflect the practical construction of the era. But beneath the charming exterior lies a dark and haunting legacy. Over the decades, visitors have reported the smell of smoke and burning wood when no fire is present, fleeting, shadowy figures fleeing through the rooms, and a pervasive sense of unease that lingers long after leaving the property. The cabin's reputation for paranormal activity has made it a magnet for thrill seekers, historians, and paranormal investigators alike. The dark history of Red Pine Cabin is tied to multiple fires that occurred during its early years. Some accounts suggest accidental blazes started by miners or settlers cooking over open flames, while others tell of more mysterious fires that consumed portions of the cabin without clear cause. Tragically, several of these fires claimed lives, trapping occupants inside the wooden structure before help could arrive. Local lore suggests that the intense fear, pain, and loss experienced during these events left lingering energies behind, imprinting themselves upon the very walls of the cabin. Visitors report that this residual energy manifests in unusual and often terrifying ways, particularly the sense that the cabin itself is haunted by those who perished in flames. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at Red Pine Cabin is the sudden appearance of smoke or the smell of burning wood. Even when no fireplace is lit and no fire has recently been used, guests often enter the cabin and are immediately struck by the acrid scent, sometimes thick enough to cause coughing or discomfort. The smoke appears without explanation, drifting through hallways or settling in rooms where no previous activity could account for it. Many describe feeling a sense of urgency or panic in conjunction with the smell, as though the cabin is reliving the fear and danger of past fires. Some paranormal investigators suggest that this may be a form of residual haunting, a replay of the catastrophic events that defined the cabin's early years. Shadowy figures are another hallmark of Red Pine Cabin's haunting. Visitors frequently report seeing dark, fleeting forms moving across rooms, appearing at the edges of vision, or fleeing through doorways as if escaping an unseen danger. These figures are often humanoid but indistinct, leaving little detail beyond their dark silhouettes and swift movements. Witnesses describe the experience as chilling, a sudden, almost instinctive recognition that someone or something is present and in a hurry to move away. The areas most commonly associated with these sightings include the main living space, the loft, and near the stone fireplace, locations that were central during the fires of the past. Some visitors have even reported seeing figures emerge from or vanish into the walls, further enhancing the cabin's eerie reputation. In addition to smoke and apparitions, visitors have reported unusual auditory phenomena. The creaking of timbers, the crackle of flames, and the sound of rushing footsteps are commonly experienced in Red Pine Cabin, often when the building is empty. Some witnesses describe hearing muffled cries or panicked voices, as if replaying the final moments of those trapped in fire long ago. These sounds frequently coincide with visual or olfactory manifestations, creating a fully immersive haunting that engages multiple senses and leaves a lasting impression on those present. The interior of Red Pine Cabin seems to amplify these phenomena. Its wooden floors and heavy timber walls carry sound in unusual ways, making minor noises echo and amplify, adding to the cabin's ominous ambience. Objects occasionally move without explanation. Chairs tilt, doors swing slightly, and small items are displaced, suggesting that unseen hands interact with the environment. Many visitors report a feeling of being watched or followed as they explore the cabin, particularly in the loft or near the fireplace, areas historically central to the cabin's fires and tragedies. This combination of visual, auditory, and olfactory activity creates a hauntingly immersive environment that leaves guests on edge throughout their stay. The surrounding forest further contributes to the cabin's unsettling atmosphere. Dense pines, uneven terrain, and the constant whisper of the wind through the trees enhance the sense of isolation and vulnerability. At night, shadows from the surrounding woods stretch across the cabin's exterior, merging with the interior darkness and amplifying the sense of unseen presences. Visitors often report that the forest seems to echo the cabin's activity, with rustling branches or sudden snapping twigs coinciding with apparitions or the smell of smoke. This integration of natural and supernatural elements creates an environment where the boundary between the living and the dead feels almost imperceptible. Historical context provides insight into why Red Pine Cabin remains so active. The fires, deaths, and trauma associated with its early occupants appear to have left a lasting imprint. Paranormal experts suggest that intense emotional events, particularly those involving fear and sudden death, can create residual energy that manifests repeatedly over time. In the case of Red Pine Cabin, the smoke, shadowy figures, and disembodied sounds may all be echoes of the past, replaying the fear and chaos experienced during the tragic fires. Despite its chilling reputation, Red Pine Cabin continues to draw visitors. Historians, paranormal enthusiasts, and thrill-seekers are drawn to its combination of rustic charm, historical significance, and haunting phenomena. Guests often leave with vivid memories, the smell of smoke that lingers long after leaving, the sight of shadowy figures fleeing through rooms, and the feeling of unseen eyes tracking their movements. Many describe a mixture of fear and fascination, captivated by the knowledge that the cabin is not just a relic of history, but a place where the echoes of tragedy continue to resonate. Red Pine Cabin stands as a haunting reminder of the dangers and losses of the past. Its smoke, shadowy figures, and eerie sounds create a chilling environment where history and the supernatural intertwine. For those willing to explore its timber-bird rooms and shadowed corners, the cabin offers a glimpse into a world where fire, fear, and lingering spirits continue to shape the living experience, leaving a lasting impression on all who dare to enter. Woodland Park's Haunted Forest. Silver Creek Cabin, tucked into the forested hills near Pagosa Springs, Colorado, is a rustic retreat renowned for both its scenic beauty and its eerie paranormal activity. Built in the early 1900s, the cabin was originally used by visitors and locals seeking refuge near the natural hot springs, which have drawn people to the area for centuries. The cabin's timbered walls, stone fireplace, and modest layout reflect the simplicity of early mountain life. Yet beneath its quiet charm lies a mysterious and unsettling reputation. Over the decades, guests and paranormal investigators alike have reported spectral visions, disembodied whispers, eerie laughter, and the unmistakable sound of splashing water, all seemingly connected to the historic hot springs nearby. The cabin's haunting is closely tied to the hot springs themselves, which were a popular bathing and social gathering spot during the early 20th century. Locals and visitors alike would gather to soak in the therapeutic waters, often staying near the springs for extended periods. Over time, tragic accidents and unexpected deaths occurred around the area. Slips, drownings, and sudden illnesses claimed lives in what was otherwise a place of leisure and healing. Legend has it that the energy of those who died, combined with the emotions of relaxation, joy, and communal interaction, became imprinted in the environment, leading to the paranormal phenomena reported today. Silver Creek Cabin, situated just a short walk from the springs, became a focal point for these spectral echoes. Visitors to the cabin frequently report seeing ghostly apparitions of bathers from the early 1900s. These visions often appear in or around the small creek that runs near the property and along the pathways to the hot springs. Witnesses describe transparent figures clad in period bathing attire, one-piece suits for women, and woolen swim trunks for men, sometimes standing, sometimes moving through the water as if continuing routines from decades past. These apparitions are often observed during the early morning or twilight hours, when mist rises from the hot springs and the natural light creates long shadows across the surrounding trees and water. The figures seem unaware of the living, repeating motions as if caught in an eternal moment, leaving witnesses with an eerie sense of intrusion into a long-gone era. Auditory phenomena are a prominent feature of Silver Creek Cabin's haunting. Guests frequently report hearing laughter, whispers, and the splashing of water, even when the springs are empty and the creek flows quietly. Some describe the sounds as conversational, almost casual, like the murmurs of people enjoying a communal soak. Others report sudden, startled laughter or frantic splashes that fade just as quickly as they appear, leaving an unsettling emptiness. The combination of voices and water sounds creates a multi-layered experience, making it feel as though the environment itself is alive with the echoes of past activity. Paranormal investigators have captured EVP recordings of faint whispers and giggles, adding further credibility to the reports of spectral activity. The cabin itself seems to act as a conduit for these experiences. Inside, visitors often feel sudden chills, hear footsteps or murmurs along the wooden floors, and sense the presence of unseen watchers. Objects occasionally shift or fall without explanation, particularly near windows, facing the creek or the path to the springs. Some guests report feeling brushed by an invisible hand or the subtle pressure of a presence nearby, especially when alone in the loft or sitting by the fireplace. These physical sensations, combined with the auditory and visual phenomena, create an immersive environment where the line between the past and the present feels blurred. The surrounding landscape further amplifies the haunting. Dense forests, rocky slopes, and the constant movement of water from the creek and springs create an environment that is both beautiful and mysterious. At night, the sounds of the natural environment, rustling leaves, trickling water, and distant animal calls merge with the cabin's paranormal activity, making it difficult to distinguish the ordinary from the extraordinary. Mist rising from the hot springs often forms ghostly shapes and shadows, adding to the sense that the spirits associated with Silver Creek Cabin remain deeply connected to the land itself, not just the building. Historical context sheds light on why these phenomena persist. The area surrounding Pagosa Springs was heavily frequented in the early 20th century, and accidents or deaths in or near the water likely left a strong emotional imprint. Paranormal experts theorize that these intense emotions, relaxation, joy, fear, and sudden death, can create residual energy, replaying in patterns visible or audible to the living. Silver Creek Cabin, positioned close to both the creek and the hot springs, acts as a focal point where these energies converge. The apparitions, laughter, and water sounds are thought to be echoes of the lives and experiences of those who once frequented the springs, preserved in time by the intensity of their activities and emotions. Despite its eerie reputation, Silver Creek Cabin continues to draw visitors, historians, paranormal enthusiasts, and travelers seeking solitude in the mountains are drawn to both its natural beauty and its supernatural allure. Guests often leave with vivid impressions: the sight of ghostly bathers moving through the mist, the sound of splashing water where none should be, and whispers or laughter that linger long after departure. Many describe a mixture of awe and unease, captivated by the notion that the cabin is not just a historic site but a living connection to the people who once filled the area with life and activity. Silver Creek Cabin stands as a haunting testament to the passage of time, where the natural beauty of the Pagosa Springs area meets the lingering presence of those who came before. Its ghostly bathers, whispered conversations, and water sounds create an immersive experience, allowing visitors to feel the echoes of early 20th century life. For those willing to explore its timbered walls and the surrounding creek, Silver Creek Cabin offers a chilling glimpse into a world where the past never truly fades, leaving a lingering impression that continues to haunt the present. Eagle's Rest Cabin, perched precariously on a cliff overlooking the winding Blue River near Frisco, Colorado, is a remote retreat steeped in both breathtaking scenery and unnerving legend. Built in the early 1900s as a rustic lodge for travelers and miners seeking solace in the mountains, the cabin features heavy timber construction, stone fireplaces, and panoramic windows offering sweeping views of the river valley below. Yet beneath its scenic charm lies a reputation for paranormal activity that has intrigued visitors for decades. Witnesses report seeing shadowy figures walking along the cliffs at night, disappearing when approached, and experiencing sudden gusts of wind that chill the interior of the cabin, even on calm nights. These phenomena have cemented Eagle's Rest as one of the most haunting locations in the Frisco area. The cabin's unique location atop a cliff contributes to its eerie ambience. By day, the landscape is stunning. The Blue River winds through the valley below, framed by dense pine forests and snow-capped peaks. But as night falls, the dramatic elevation and isolation of Eagle's Rest seem to amplify the supernatural activity reported there. Visitors often describe an immediate feeling of unease upon stepping onto the porch or gazing out the windows after dark, as though the cliffs themselves are alive with unseen observers. The sensation of being watched is frequently accompanied by sudden gusts of wind, which sweep through the cabin with no visible source, rattling doors and windows and leaving guests shivering despite heavy clothing or a roaring fire. Shadowy figures are among the most commonly reported phenomena. Witnesses have seen humanoid silhouettes moving along the cliff edges, sometimes pacing slowly, sometimes standing still and staring out over the river. These figures often vanish when approached, leaving no trace, as if they exist on a plane just beyond the perception of the living. Some visitors report seeing multiple figures at once, occasionally appearing as if replaying past events, while others describe fleeting glimpses in their peripheral vision that vanish when looked at directly. The figures are generally tall and indistinct, cloaked in darkness, and seem intimately tied to the cabin's dramatic, isolated setting. Auditory phenomena enhance the haunting of Eagle's Rest. Guests report hearing footsteps along the cliffside or on the rocky paths leading to the cabin, even when no one is present. At times, faint murmurs or low voices seem to drift through the air, carried by the wind, only to vanish as suddenly as they appear. Inside the cabin, unexplained creaks and the subtle sound of doors rattling accompany sudden gusts, creating a sensation that the structure itself is responding to invisible forces. Some visitors describe the whisper of voices seeming to follow them from room to room, while others hear the distant echo of someone pacing or moving along the porch outside. The interior of Eagle's Rest cabin seems to magnify these effects. The heavy timber walls, stone fireplaces, and narrow hallways carry sound in unusual ways, making ordinary noises settling wood, wind through cracks, or shifting furniture appear deliberate and sinister. Guests have reported doors opening or closing on their own, objects moving slightly without explanation, and cold drafts following them from room to room. The loft and main living areas, particularly those facing the cliff, are cited as hotspots for paranormal activity. Here, visitors often experience a combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena, leaving them with a profound sense of unease that persists long after they depart. Historical context suggests that the haunting may be tied to the cabin's early occupants and its cliffside location. Eagle's Rest was used by miners, settlers, and travelers navigating the rugged mountains, many of whom endured accidents, falls, and harsh weather. Some local legends speak of individuals who perished along the cliff, their spirits unable or unwilling to leave the site. Paranormal experts theorize that these intense events, combined with the natural isolation and dramatic geography of the area, may create lingering residual energy that manifests in the forms described by witnesses: shadowy figures, sudden gusts, and unexplained sounds. The cliffside, constantly exposed to wind and the elements, may act as a conduit, amplifying and dispersing these energies throughout the cabin. The surrounding environment further heightens the haunting. Dense pine forests, steep cliffs, and the rushing Blue River below create a dramatic and atmospheric backdrop, particularly at night. Moonlight reflecting off the river can create strange shadows and visual distortions, while gusts of wind sweeping through the valley interact with the cabin's structure, producing noises that seem to have no source. Some visitors report that the wind feels almost purposeful, chilling the interior selectively, or that the shadows outside the windows seem to shift in response to their movements. The interplay between natural forces and alleged paranormal activity creates an immersive experience that blurs the line between reality and the supernatural. Despite its unsettling reputation, Eagle's Rest cabin continues to attract visitors seeking both its scenic beauty and its paranormal intrigue. Hikers, history enthusiasts, and ghost hunters come for the dramatic vistas and the chance to witness something unexplained firsthand. Many leave with vivid memories: the shadowy figures pacing along the cliffs, the sudden gusts of wind that chilled them to the bone, and the persistent feeling of being watched, even when they are alone in the cabin. Guests often describe a mixture of fear and fascination, compelled by the thought that the cabin is not merely a historical site, but a place where past tragedies and lingering presences converge. Eagle's Rest Cabin stands as a haunting testament to the wild beauty and mystery of Colorado's mountains. Its shadowy figures, sudden gusts of wind, and auditory phenomena create a deeply immersive experience, allowing visitors to sense the lingering presence of those who came before. For those willing to brave its cliffside perch and shadowed interior, Eagle's Rest offers a chilling encounter with the unexplained, a place where history, landscape, and spectral presence converge to leave an unforgettable impression. Hemlock Cabin, tucked into the rugged hills near Georgetown, Colorado, is a weathered structure with a history steeped in the gold rush era and the tragedies that accompanied it. Built in the mid-1800s as a shelter for miners and prospectors seeking fortune in the nearby veins of gold, the cabin's heavy timber walls and stone hearth reflect a practical design necessary for surviving harsh winters and remote mountain life. Over the decades, the cabin has become infamous, not only for its historical significance, but also for the persistent paranormal activity reported by visitors. Guests have described hearing distant hammering, unexplained groans, and occasionally glimpsing spectral miners appearing near the hearth, as if still laboring long after death. The combination of history, isolation, and reported hauntings makes Hemlock Cabin one of the most intriguing and unsettling locations in the Georgetown area. The cabin's most striking phenomena are the auditory experiences, which many visitors describe as chillingly vivid. Guests frequently report hearing the distant sounds of hammering and pickaxes striking rock, often accompanied by groans or murmurs that seem to echo from the nearby hills or from the cabin's interior. These sounds are particularly noticeable during the evening or late at night when the surrounding forest and mountains are quiet, allowing the noises to carry with an unnerving clarity. Some describe the hammering as rhythmic, almost as if a ghostly miner is continuing a day's work, while the groans convey exhaustion, pain, or perhaps the lingering trauma of accidents and cave-ins that were all too common during the gold rush. The auditory phenomena create an immersive atmosphere that leaves visitors on edge, feeling both the presence of the past and the isolation of the present. Visual phenomena have also been reported at Hemlock Cabin. Some visitors describe seeing fleeting images of miners in period attire, worn shirts, suspenders, and hats moving near the hearth or along the cabin's walls. These figures often appear partially transparent, their outlines blurred, and vanish when directly approached. One common report involves a miner crouching near the hearth, hammering at an invisible vein of gold or inspecting tools, only to dissolve into the air when observed more closely. The spectral figures are usually solitary, though occasionally multiple apparitions have been seen, interacting as though continuing the daily routines of their long-past lives. These visual encounters, paired with the auditory phenomena, create the impression that Hemlock Cabin is not simply haunted by memories, but that the miners' presence actively lingers, bound to the cabin by the intensity of their labor and the tragedies they endured. Physical sensations are another layer of the haunting. Visitors often report sudden chills, particularly near the hearth or in the corners of the cabin where shadows gather. Some feel a faint pressure on their shoulders or sense movement nearby without seeing anyone. Objects within the cabin occasionally shift or tilt slightly without explanation. Tools on shelves, chairs, or small personal items may appear out of place, suggesting the influence of unseen hands. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences makes Hemlock Cabin a deeply immersive location, one that engages multiple senses and leaves visitors with a lingering sense of unease long after they depart. Historical context helps explain why Hemlock Cabin remained so active. The gold rush era was notoriously dangerous, with miners facing cave-ins, falls, exposure to the elements, and accidents involving equipment or explosives. Georgetown, like many mining towns in Colorado, was no exception, and the hills around Hemlock Cabin witnessed their share of tragedy. Paranormal experts theorize that the intense emotions tied to these deaths, fear, pain, desperation, and sometimes hope, can imprint themselves upon a location, resulting in residual energy that manifests as auditory, visual, and tactile phenomena. In the case of Hemlock Cabin, the combination of its remote location, historical significance, and the intensity of miners' experiences may have created an enduring connection between the living and the dead. The cabin's environment further amplifies its haunting. Situated amid dense pines and rocky slopes, the forest surrounding Hemlock Cabin is quiet, isolating, and often cloaked in fog or snow. Depending on the season, the natural acoustics of the hills allow sounds to carry in unusual ways, making ordinary noises, wind, falling branches, or distant wildlife seem like footsteps, hammering, or murmurs from miners long gone. Shadows cast by moonlight through the trees can appear like figures moving along the walls, blending seamlessly with the already active spectral presence. Visitors often report that the cabin feels alive in these conditions, as though the echoes of the past are intertwined with the natural rhythms of the surrounding wilderness. Despite its chilling reputation, Hemlock Cabin continues to attract visitors. Paranormal enthusiasts, history buffs, and adventurous travelers come to experience both its scenic beauty and its eerie allure. Guests often leave with vivid impressions: the echoing hammering of unseen miners, the low groans that seem to rise from the walls, and the occasional sighting of a figure crouched near the hearth. Many describe a mixture of fear, fascination, and reverence, captivated by the knowledge that the cabin is not merely a historical relic, but a place where the lives and lingering spirits of those who labored here continue to make their presence known. Hemlock Cabin stands as a haunting testament to the harsh realities of the gold rush and the lingering energy left behind by those who worked and died in its shadow. Its spectral miners, unexplained noises, and subtle physical manifestations create a deeply immersive experience, allowing visitors to connect with the past in ways that are both unsettling and unforgettable. For those willing to brave its timbered walls and shadowed corners, Hemlock Cabin offers a chilling encounter with history and the supernatural, a place where the toil, tragedy, and presence of miners endure long after the gold has been exhausted. Coyote Creek Cabin, nestled deep in the forests near Durango, Colorado, is a rustic retreat with a reputation steeped in mystery and tragedy. The cabin itself, constructed in the late 1800s, was originally used by local settlers and travelers seeking shelter. From the rugged terrain and unpredictable mountain weather, its simple timber structure, stone fireplace, and surrounding wilderness make it an idyllic escape during the day. Yet as night falls, the area transforms into a place steeped in eerie legend. For decades, locals and visitors alike have whispered stories of a family that vanished without a trace near the creek, leaving behind an aura of unease that continues to haunt the area. Reports of apparitions, disembodied cries, and fleeting shadows make Coyote Creek Cabin one of the most chilling sights in the Durango region. The legend centers around a family who settled near the creek in the early 1900s. Historical accounts are sparse, but local lore tells of a husband, wife, and 2 children who lived quietly in a cabin near the water, living off the land and mining in nearby streams. One winter, the family reportedly disappeared without warning, leaving all their belongings behind. Search parties found no trace of the family, despite extensive efforts across the surrounding forests and riverbanks. Over the years, their mysterious disappearance has become intertwined with the identity of the area, giving rise to stories of lingering spirits tied to the creek and the cabin itself. Visitors report experiencing the presence of the family as if they never truly left, their energy lingering in the trees, along the creek, and within the walls of the cabin. Visual phenomena are among the most compelling and unnerving experiences at Coyote Creek Cabin. Many visitors have claimed to see the family's apparitions near the creek at night. Witnesses describe translucent figures resembling a man, woman, and 2 children, often standing or walking along the water's edge, illuminated by moonlight filtering through the forest canopy. The figures are generally indistinct, their features blurred and shadowed. Yet their movements appear purposeful, as if carrying out ordinary routines frozen in time. Some report seeing the family gazing toward the cabin or appearing to interact with each other in brief, fleeting moments. When approached, the apparitions vanish, leaving only the sounds of the forest and the rushing creek, heightening the sense of isolation and unresolved tragedy. Auditory phenomena are just as prevalent. Guests often describe hearing the faint cries of children echoing through the surrounding forest, sometimes accompanied by the distant, hushed tones of adult voices. The sounds are subtle, often seeming to come from no specific direction, and can be unsettling in the silence of the wooded area. Some visitors hear the splash of water where the creek runs quietly, as if someone is waiting or playing, though no one is present. These auditory experiences, paired with visual sightings, create an immersive sense of presence, giving the impression that the family is eternally bound to the landscape, replaying moments of daily life that were tragically cut short. The cabin itself seems to serve as a focal point for the haunting. Inside, guests often report sudden cold spots, particularly near windows facing the creek, and a persistent feeling of being watched. Furniture occasionally shifts or tilts without explanation. Doors creak or slam, and small items appear out of place. Some visitors have felt the sensation of a presence brushing past them in the narrow hallways, or seen shadows flit across the walls, vanishing when observed directly. These physical manifestations, combined with visual and auditory phenomena, give Coyote Creek Cabin a deeply immersive haunting, engaging multiple senses and creating a palpable sense of unease for anyone who enters. Environmental factors contribute significantly to the cabin's eerie atmosphere. The dense forests surrounding the cabin block out most ambient light, allowing moonlight and starlight to cast long, shifting shadows. Fog often rises from the creek in the early morning or evening, adding a spectral quality to the landscape. Wind rushing through the trees produces an eerie accompaniment to the disembodied sounds, while the constant murmur of the creek amplifies the sensation of unseen movement. Even ordinary elements of nature, rustling leaves, snapping branches, or animal calls can seem imbued with intention, as if responding to the lingering spirits tied to the cabin and creek. Historical context offers insight into why Coyote Creek Cabin remains so active. The tragic disappearance of the family created an enduring narrative that intertwined with the land itself. Paranormal experts suggest that intense emotional events, especially those involving sudden loss or fear, can leave residual energy in a location. At Coyote Creek Cabin, this energy may manifest as visual apparitions, auditory phenomena, and physical sensations that persist across decades. The connection between the family and the creek, the site of their last known presence, appears to anchor these phenomena, creating a haunting that is both localized and deeply tied to the natural environment. Despite its chilling reputation, Coyote Creek Cabin continues to attract visitors, seeking both its historical intrigue and its supernatural allure. Hikers, ghost hunters, and thrill seekers venture to the cabin, hoping to witness firsthand the ghostly presence that locals have described for generations. Many leave with vivid memories: the sight of a family's apparitions along the creek, the echo of children's cries carried on the wind, and the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. These experiences leave a lasting impression, blending fear and fascination with a deep respect for the tragic history of the place. Coyote Creek Cabin stands as a haunting testament to unresolved tragedy and a lingering presence of those who vanish too soon. Its apparitions, cries, and subtle physical manifestations create a hauntingly immersive environment, connecting visitors with a family whose story was never fully told. For those willing to explore its timbered walls and shadowed surroundings, the cabin offers a chilling encounter with the supernatural, where the past continues to echo along the creek and through the forest, leaving a lasting impression that both fascinates and unnerves. Whistling Pines Cabin, tucked away in the dense forests surrounding Estes Park, Colorado, is a small timber retreat shrouded in both natural beauty and unsettling legend. Built in the early 1900s as a getaway for hunters and nature enthusiasts, the cabin's rustic charm belies the chilling phenomena reported by visitors and paranormal investigators over the decades. Whistling Pines Cabin is renowned for the eerie whistling noises that often echo through its hallways and surrounding woods. sudden and inexplicable drops in temperature, and a pervasive sense of being watched. Multiple investigations have captured electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, recording unexplained whispers and voices, cementing the cabin's reputation as one of Colorado's most haunted locations. The cabin's name comes from the dense pine forest that surrounds it, which seems to amplify both natural and supernatural sounds. Guests often describe hearing whistling that starts faintly, almost like the wind moving through the treetops, before growing louder and more distinct. The sound is frequently reported as melodic yet mournful, echoing through the forest and through the cabin's wooden walls, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. Some visitors claim that the whistling appears to follow them, shifting in pitch and direction as if responding to their movements. The noises are most often experienced at night, when the isolation of the cabin and the stillness of the surrounding wilderness make the sounds impossible to ignore. Auditory phenomena extend beyond the whistling. Many guests have reported hearing indistinct voices, sometimes speaking words or fragments of sentences, though they are often unintelligible. Others describe footsteps on the wooden floors, doors creaking as though someone is moving through the cabin, and occasional knocks or taps that seem to occur in response to their own actions. Paranormal investigators have conducted several EVP sessions in the cabin, capturing faint voices that do not correspond to any living person present. Some recordings feature whispers, calling names, or murmuring indistinct phrases, while others capture sharp, almost commanding tones that send chills through listeners. The combination of whistling, voices, and other unexplained sounds creates a deeply immersive, often unsettling environment for those inside. Temperature fluctuations are another hallmark of Whistling Pines cabin. Guests consistently report sudden drops in temperature that cannot be explained by natural causes. Even on warm days, certain areas of the cabin can feel bitterly cold, particularly near windows, doorways, or corners where shadows gather. Some visitors describe feeling a cold draft brush past them, accompanied by a sensation of pressure or the feeling of being touched by an unseen hand. These sudden chills often coincide with auditory phenomena, such as the whistling or footsteps, leading many to believe that the cabin is sensitive to the presence of the living and may be responding to intrusions into its haunted space. Visual phenomena are less frequent but no less unsettling. Some visitors claim to see fleeting shadows at the edges of their vision, often disappearing when looked at directly. Others report seeing the outline of a figure standing near the doorway or moving past a window, only to vanish upon closer inspection. Occasionally, reflective surfaces, such as mirrors or glass, have been said to show vague silhouettes or shifting shapes not attributable to light or natural movement. These visual encounters are generally brief, yet they leave a lasting impression, reinforcing the cabin's reputation as a site where the past and present seem to overlap. The history of Whistling Pines cabin may help explain its haunting. Constructed during the early 20th century, the cabin served as a remote refuge for those drawn to the forests of Estes Park. Over the years, the surrounding area saw numerous deaths and disappearances, from accidents in the dense woods to sudden illnesses among travelers seeking solitude. Paranormal experts theorize that such traumatic events can leave an emotional imprint on a location, resulting in residual energy that manifests as sounds, cold spots, and occasional apparitions. The cabin's isolated position, coupled with the dense forest and high elevation, may have preserved these energies, allowing them to be experienced by modern visitors. The surrounding environment contributes significantly to the haunting. Whistling Pines cabin sits amid towering pines, rocky outcroppings, and narrow paths that wind through the forest. The natural acoustics of the trees and terrain can amplify ordinary noises, branches snapping, wind rustling through the foliage, but at Whistling Pines cabin, these sounds often take on a supernatural quality. Visitors report that the whistling can seem to move with them, traveling along the paths or echoing from the forest in ways that defy explanation. Fog and mist rising from the nearby mountains frequently add to the atmosphere, casting shadows and creating visual distortions that enhance the perception of spectral activity. Despite the eerie reports, Whistling Pines Cabin remains a destination for those drawn to both the natural beauty of Estes Park and its paranormal allure. Hikers, ghost hunters, and curious travelers visit the cabin hoping to witness the unexplained firsthand. Many leave with vivid memories of faint whistling drifting through the trees, the sudden chill of unseen drafts, and the whispered voices captured on EVP recordings. Some speak of feeling watched or followed by unseen presences, while others report fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures near the windows or in the corners of the rooms. These experiences, blending fear, fascination, and historical intrigue, leave a lasting impression on all who venture there. Whistling Pines Cabin stands as a haunting testament to the mysteries of Estes Park, forests, and the lingering presence of those who once occupied or perished in the area. Its distinctive whistling, sudden cold spots, disembodied voices, and fleeting shadows create a uniquely immersive haunting, drawing visitors into an environment where the past continues to resonate in the present. For those willing to explore its timbered walls and shadowed surroundings, Whistling Pines Cabin offers an unforgettable encounter with the unknown, a place where history, nature, and the supernatural converge to create an atmosphere both beautiful and chilling. Black Oak Cabin, nestled in the remote forests near Buena Vista, Colorado, is a weathered structure steeped in both natural beauty and unsettling legend. Built in the late 1800s as a refuge for miners and settlers navigating the rugged Rocky Mountain terrain, the cabin's heavy oak timbers and stone hearth convey a sense of permanence and resilience. Yet beneath its rustic charm lies a darker reputation. Over the decades, Black Oak Cabin has become infamous for mysterious disappearances in its surrounding area, as well as a host of paranormal phenomena reported by visitors. Those who venture inside often describe a pervasive sense of being watched or followed, shadowy figures darting past windows and doorways, and an unsettling energy that seems to cling to the cabin and the forest beyond. The combination of history, isolation, and repeated reports of supernatural activity has cemented Black Oak Cabin as one of Buena Vista's most haunted locations. The cabin's history is intertwined with tales of missing settlers, miners, and travelers. Local lore recounts that during the early mining boom, several individuals vanished mysteriously near the cabin, leaving behind personal belongings and no clues to their fate. Over time, the area developed a reputation for strange occurrences. People walking alone near the forest edge reported being followed by unseen presences, and others noticed fleeting figures moving just out of sight. The cabin, sitting at the center of these reports, became a focal point for the unexplained. Visitors today describe an immediate feeling of unease upon entering, as if the cabin itself holds memories of the lost and the vanished, memories that continue to echo through time. Auditory phenomena are among the most frequently reported experiences at Black Oak Cabin. Guests often hear faint footsteps moving along the wooden floors, even when the cabin is empty. Doors creak and sometimes slam without any apparent cause, while low murmurs and whispers seem to drift through the rooms, impossible to attribute to any living presence. Some visitors describe hearing a distant voice calling a name, only for the sound to fade as they attempt to respond. These auditory experiences are particularly pronounced at night, when the surrounding forest is silent and the isolation of the cabin amplifies every noise. Many believe that these sounds are echoes of those who disappeared in the area, their presence lingering as an unsettled energy within the structure. Visual phenomena further enhance the haunting. Shadowy figures are the most commonly reported sightings, often described as dark, indistinct shapes darting past windows, doorways, or along the cabin's perimeter. These figures are rarely seen in detail, but their movement and timing are enough to startle even experienced visitors. Some report glimpsing humanoid silhouettes in the corners of rooms or standing silently near the hearth, only to vanish when approached. On occasion, reflections in mirrors or window panes appear to show shapes that are not present when looked at directly. The fleeting and elusive nature of these visual encounters creates an atmosphere of tension and unpredictability, leaving visitors constantly on edge. Physical sensations are also a part of the haunting at Black Oak Cabin. Guests frequently report sudden cold spots that appear in the middle of a warm room, a subtle pressure on the shoulders, or the sensation of being lightly brushed by an unseen hand. Objects within the cabin, chairs, small tools, or personal items, sometimes shift or tilt slightly, suggesting the influence of an invisible presence. These experiences, combined with auditory and visual phenomena, create a deeply immersive environment, one in which visitors feel the cabin's history pressing in from all sides. The environment surrounding Black Oak Cabin amplifies the sense of isolation and eeriness. Towering oaks and dense underbrush create long shadows and obscure views, making the forest seem alive with movement. The distant sound of wind through the trees can resemble whispers or faint laughter, while moonlight filtering through the canopy casts shifting patterns across the cabin walls. The creek nearby, which runs quietly during the day, sometimes produces sudden, startling splashes or ripples at night, as though something unseen is moving through the water. These natural elements interact with the cabin's energy, enhancing the sensation that the forest itself is aware of the visitor's presence. Historical context may provide insight into why Black Oak Cabin continues to be active. The disappearances and harsh living conditions of the region in the late 19th and early 20th centuries created an environment of fear, loss, and trauma. Paranormal investigators suggest that such intense experiences can leave residual energy in a location, which may manifest as auditory, visual, and physical phenomena. In the case of Black Oak Cabin, the combination of documented disappearances, isolated location, and the inherent tension of mountain life seems to have created a persistent haunting that remains palpable to this day. Despite, or perhaps because of its unsettling reputation, Black Oak Cabin continues to draw visitors, hikers, history enthusiasts, and paranormal investigators come seeking both its scenic setting and a chance to experience the supernatural firsthand. Many leave with vivid impressions, fleeting shadows along the windows, unexplained footsteps echoing through empty rooms, and the constant sensation of being observed. These encounters, blending fear, fascination, and curiosity, create a lasting impression, leaving visitors with a story that lingers long after they leave the forested hills of Buena Vista. Black Oak Cabin stands as a chilling testament to the mysteries of the Colorado wilderness and the lingering presence of those lost to history. Its shadowy figures, unexplained noises, and subtle physical manifestations create an immersive and unsettling experience, allowing visitors to confront a place where the past refuses to remain buried. For those willing to step inside its timbered walls and explore the shadowed forests surrounding it, Black Oak Cabin offers a haunting encounter with the unknown, a site where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge to create an experience that is both unforgettable and profoundly eerie. Fog Pine Cabin, perched on a mist-covered ridge near Nederland, Colorado, is a secluded retreat whose rustic charm masks an unsettling reputation. Built in the early 1900s by settlers seeking refuge from the harsh mountain winters, the cabin's sturdy timber frame and stone fireplace have withstood the decades, weathering snow, wind, and the dense fog that perpetually blankets the surrounding forest. Yet, it is not nature alone that has marked this location with unease. Over the years, Fog Pine Cabin has gained notoriety for strange occurrences and paranormal activity, drawing the curiosity of hikers, ghost hunters, and thrill seekers. Visitors report ghostly silhouettes, cold spots that seem to follow them, and an almost tangible sense of being watched, creating an immersive and chilling atmosphere that continues to captivate those brave enough to enter. The cabin's defining feature is the dense fog that blankets it for much of the year, giving the property an ethereal, almost otherworldly presence. The fog rolls in from the surrounding mountains, often so thick their visibility is limited to just a few feet, and when night falls, the landscape takes on an eerie glow from the moon, filtering through the mist. This fog has become a canvas for the cabin's supernatural activity, amplifying sounds and distorting visual perceptions. Guests often describe seeing shadowy figures moving through the haze, appearing and disappearing as if carried on the mist itself. These figures are generally indistinct, but their movements are purposeful enough to suggest sentient activity, prompting visitors to question whether the spirits of the past remain bound to the property. Auditory phenomena at Fog Pine Cabin are equally compelling. Many visitors hear footsteps echoing across the wooden floors, doors creaking open and closed with no human cause, and low whispers that seem to drift through the rooms from nowhere. Some report hearing murmured conversations, fragmented phrases, or faint cries, often synchronized with the presence of a shadowy figure or a sudden chill. The sounds are usually subtle, almost easily overlooked, but in the dense fog and isolated setting, they create an overwhelming sense of unease. Paranormal investigators have captured electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, during multiple visits, documenting indistinct voices, low groans, and fleeting cries that have no identifiable source. These recordings suggest that the cabin is not merely haunted by residual energy, but may be home to entities that actively interact with the living. Visual phenomena are among the most unsettling aspects of the cabin's reputation. Guests frequently report glimpsing ghostly silhouettes moving through the rooms or across the windows, often vanishing when approached. These apparitions are generally dark and featureless, sometimes resembling a human shape from afar, but dissipating into mist upon closer inspection. Some visitors claim to see figures standing silently near the fireplace, peering from doorways, or watching from the edges of the fog outside. These fleeting sightings create a feeling of constant observation, as if the spirits are aware of those who trespass into their space. The combination of visual and auditory experiences makes Fog Pine Cabin a highly immersive site for the supernatural. Temperature anomalies further heighten the cabin's eerie atmosphere. Visitors report sudden cold spots that appear unexpectedly, often moving with them as they explore different areas of the cabin. Even during warmer months, certain rooms can feel bitterly cold, and some guests describe the sensation of a draft brushing past their skin, accompanied by a subtle pressure on the shoulders or arms. These phenomena contribute to the sense of presence, reinforcing the feeling that unseen entities are observing, following, or interacting with visitors in ways that are both subtle and disconcerting. The cabin's history provides context for its haunting. Built during a period of early settlement in the Colorado mountains, Fog Pine Cabin has long stood as a refuge in a challenging environment. Stories of isolated deaths, accidents, and hardships endured by early settlers and travelers have circulated for generations, often tied to the cabin and its surrounding forest. Paranormal experts theorize that locations marked by intense emotional experiences, fear, loss, and survival can retain residual energy, which manifests as unexplained sounds, shadows, or sensations. Fog Pine Cabin, with its isolated location, long history, and harsh environmental conditions, seems to have become a repository for these energies, preserving the echoes of its past inhabitants. The surrounding environment plays a crucial role in the haunting. The dense pines, steep slopes, and ever-present fog create natural acoustics that amplify ordinary sounds, turning wind rustling through branches or distant wildlife into something more sinister. Moonlight filtering through the mist casts shifting shadows that appear to move independently, while fog itself distorts perception, making familiar objects and pathways appear unfamiliar or threatening. Visitors often report a sense of disorientation, heightened by the cabin's natural isolation, which allows the paranormal activity to be experienced with maximum impact. Despite the chilling experiences reported at Fog Pine Cabin, it continues to attract visitors. Ghost enthusiasts, history buffs, and adventurers come seeking first-hand encounters with the unexplained. Many leave with lasting impressions. The sight of a shadowy figure disappearing into the fog, the echo of footsteps in empty rooms, or the cold spots that move alongside them as they explore the cabin's interior. These experiences leave a mixture of fear and fascination, drawing them back to the site or compelling them to share the stories with others. Fog Pine Cabin stands as a testament to the interplay between history, isolation, and the supernatural. Its fog-laden surroundings, ghostly silhouettes, sudden temperature drops, and disembodied sounds create a uniquely immersive haunting, allowing visitors to connect with a place where the past refuses to remain dormant. For those willing to brave the mist and enter its timbered walls, Frogpine Cabin offers an encounter with the unknown, a chilling experience that lingers long after the visitor departs the shadowed forests of Thornwood Cabin, nestled deep in the forests near Salida, Colorado, is a rustic timber structure that has gained a reputation for paranormal activity over the decades. Built in the early 1900s, the cabin was originally used as a seasonal retreat for miners and hunters. Its heavy wooden beams, stone fireplace, and isolated location make it a picturesque mountain hideaway during the day, but as night falls, Thornwood Cabin becomes the center of unsettling experiences that have drawn the attention of locals, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Known for unexplained bangs, doors slamming on their own, sudden cold drafts, and an omnipresent feeling of being watched, the cabin is said to be haunted by the spirit of an old caretaker who passed away there decades ago. Visitors and investigators alike have documented strange occurrences that suggest Thornwood Cabin holds memories or perhaps grudges from the past, creating a chilling atmosphere that lingers long after leaving its walls. The legend of Thornwood Cabin's caretaker dates back to the mid-20th century. Local accounts describe a solitary man who lived on the property, tending to the cabin and surrounding grounds while maintaining a quiet and reclusive life. He was known to be meticulous, ensuring that the cabin remained in pristine condition and that travelers or hunters passing through were given safe shelter. According to the stories, he died unexpectedly in the cabin one winter, alone and far from help. Some suggest his death left an unresolved presence, tethered to the building and imbued with the energy of his routine and devotion. Over time, visitors began reporting strange occurrences that seemed to indicate the caretaker had never truly left, and that the cabin itself had become a conduit for his lingering spirit. Auditory phenomena are among the most commonly reported experiences at Thornwood Cabin. Guests frequently describe sudden, loud bangs that echo through the wooden structure, often without any discernible source. Doors slam violently, even when no wind is present, and cabinets or drawers are sometimes found slightly ajar, despite being carefully closed. These noises often occur in patterns, startling visitors and reinforcing the impression that an unseen presence is actively interacting with the space. Some guests have reported hearing footsteps pacing along the wooden floors above or behind them, accompanied by the faint sound of humming, as if someone were maintaining routines frozen in time. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained sounds during their visits, capturing percussive knocks and subtle creaks that do not correspond to any physical cause, lending credibility to the stories of a haunting presence. Temperature anomalies further enhance the unsettling environment. Thornwood Cabin is known for sudden cold drafts that sweep through rooms, chilling visitors even during the warmer months. These cold spots often appear without warning, lingering in hallways, near windows, or around doorways. Guests describe feeling a subtle pressure or even a gentle brushing against their skin as these drafts pass, reinforcing the sensation that someone or something is moving unseen within the space. The combination of sudden temperature drops with unexplained sounds contributes to a deeply immersive sense of a presence tethered to the cabin, creating a palpable tension that persists as long as one remains inside. Visual phenomena, though less common, are no less compelling. Visitors have reported fleeting shadows at the edges of their vision, usually darting past windows, doorways, or along hallways. Some have glimpsed indistinct figures standing near the fireplace or moving through rooms, only to vanish when approached. These apparitions are generally described as tall, human-like silhouettes, often giving the impression of a caretaker still patrolling his domain. Mirrors and reflective surfaces sometimes reveal vague shapes or shifting shadows that disappear when focused on directly, leaving visitors questioning whether the cabin is simply playing tricks on the eyes or revealing glimpses of the supernatural. The isolated location of Thornwood Cabin amplifies its haunting, surrounded by dense pine forests, steep slopes, and the distant roar of mountain streams. The cabin's natural seclusion provides little distraction from the experiences within its walls. The forest itself can intensify the haunting. Wind through the trees produces eerie moaning. Rustling branches sound like footsteps, and shifting moonlight casts moving shadows that play tricks on the eyes. Fog and mist are common, often shrouding the cabin in a ghostly veil that enhances the perception of figures moving just beyond reach. In this environment, ordinary sights and sounds easily take on an unsettling, otherworldly quality, allowing the cabin's paranormal activity to dominate the visitor's experience. The historical context of Thornwood Cabin offers some explanation for the persistent phenomena. Locations associated with sudden death, long-term isolation, or intense emotional attachment often develop what paranormal experts refer to as residual energy. In this case, the caretaker's death, combined with his decades of dedication to maintaining the cabin, may have created an imprint that continues to manifest through unexplained sounds, cold drafts, and occasional apparitions. Visitors often sense the cabin as a place where past routines and emotions remain active, as though the caretaker is still watching over the property, enforcing the order he once maintained in life. Despite its reputation, Thornwood Cabin continues to attract visitors, ghost hunters, hikers, and those seeking encounters with the unexplained venture into its timbered rooms and forested surroundings, drawn by both the scenic mountain setting and the stories of its haunted past. Many leave with lasting impressions, sudden, unexplained bangs, chilling drafts that seem to follow them, and the haunting sensation of being observed. These experiences create a mixture of fear, fascination, and respect. As visitors come to understand that Thornwood Cabin is more than just a relic of the past, it is a place where history and the supernatural converge in palpable ways. Thornwood Cabin stands as a haunting testament to the persistence of memory and presence. Its unexplained noises, cold drafts, fleeting shadows, and immersive energy combine to create an environment where the past refuses to remain silent. For those willing to step inside its weathered walls and explore the surrounding forests, the cabin offers a chilling encounter with the unknown, where the spirit of the caretaker seems to linger, guarding his domain and reminding all who enter that some presences never truly leave. Silver Mist Cabin, perched on the outskirts of Breckenridge, Colorado, is a rustic retreat with a chilling connection to the town's mining past. Built in the early 1900s to accommodate prospectors and mine workers, the cabin sits near the entrance of an abandoned silver mine, its weathered timbers and stone foundation blending seamlessly into the rugged mountain landscape, while the cabin itself exudes the quiet charm of a bygone era. It is the abandoned mine and the surrounding forests that have imbued Silver Mist Cabin with a reputation for unexplained and unsettling activity. Visitors have consistently reported hearing tools moving as though hands unseen are at work, disembodied voices calling from the dark mine shafts, and the sensation of being watched. These phenomena have made the cabin a magnet for both paranormal enthusiasts and those drawn to Breckenridge's mining lore. The cabin's proximity to the abandoned mine is central to its haunted reputation. The mine, once a bustling site of silver extraction, saw numerous accidents, some fatal, and its tunnels are riddled with stories of miners who disappeared or perished during collapses. Over the years, visitors have described hearing the unmistakable sounds of pickaxes striking rock and shovels scraping the earth, even when no one is inside the mine or near its entrance. These sounds are often accompanied by faint, muffled voices echoing from deep within the shafts, sometimes calling names or speaking in hurried, fragmented phrases. Many believe these auditory phenomena are echoes of miners trapped in their final moments, replaying the labor and fear that marked their last days. Inside Silver Mist Cabin, auditory disturbances continue to unsettle guests. Footsteps traverse the wooden floors when no one is present, and doors creak or slam without explanation. Some visitors have reported the low hum of conversation, indistinct yet distinctly human, accompanied by the shifting of objects or the sound of tools being set down. Paranormal investigators have conducted numerous sessions in the cabin, capturing electronic voice phenomena, EVPs that include fragmented phrases, whispered names, and even faint commands, which do not correspond to any living person on site. These recordings suggest that the cabin is more than just a witness to history. It may act as a conduit for the lingering presence of those who worked and suffered in the nearby mine. Temperature anomalies also contribute to the cabin's eerie reputation. Guests frequently report sudden cold drafts in the middle of warm rooms, particularly near windows, doors, or the stone fireplace. These cold spots are often accompanied by the sense of being watched, an oppressive feeling that seems to press in from the corners of the cabin. Some visitors describe an almost tactile presence, a subtle brushing against their skin or a pressure on their shoulders, as though unseen hands are aware of every movement. These physical sensations reinforce the auditory and visual phenomena, creating a layered haunting that engages multiple senses. Visual encounters, though less common, are deeply unsettling. Shadowy figures are occasionally seen near the mine entrance or moving through the cabin's dimly lit rooms. Visitors report seeing silhouettes that vanish when approached, or reflections in windows and mirrors that reveal forms not present when directly observed. Some claim to see figures wearing mining gear, carrying tools or lanterns, moving deliberately as if engaged in tasks from another era. The fleeting and indistinct nature of these apparitions leaves an enduring sense of unease, making visitors hyper-aware of every shadow and movement within the cabin and the surrounding forest. The surrounding environment amplifies the haunting. The dense forest, steep mountain slopes, and fog that frequently rolls in from the valleys create natural acoustics and visual distortions that enhance the perception of supernatural activity. The mine shafts themselves, with their echoing tunnels and dark recesses, make ordinary sounds, rocks falling, wind rushing, take on an almost sentient quality. Moonlight filtering through the pines casts long, shifting shadows across the cabin walls and mine entrance, creating illusions of movement that blend with the genuine paranormal phenomena. The interplay of natural and supernatural elements leaves visitors questioning whether they are witnessing the workings of history, nature, or something beyond comprehension. Historical context provides further insight into Silver Mist Cabin's persistent activity. The area surrounding Breckenridge has a long and often perilous mining history, filled with accidents, sudden deaths, and disappearances. Paranormal experts suggest that locations marked by intense emotion or trauma may retain residual energy, which manifests in sound, movement, and cold spots. In the case of Silver Mist Cabin, the combination of its position near the abandoned mine, the harsh conditions endured by miners, and the deaths and disappearances associated with the site seems to have left a lasting imprint. Visitors today are effectively walking into a space where echoes of labor, fear, and tragedy continue to resonate. Despite its haunted reputation, Silver Mist Cabin attracts a wide array of visitors. Ghost hunters, historians, and adventurers come seeking first-hand experiences, drawn both by the scenic mountain setting and the cabin's spectral stories. Many leave with vivid memories, the sound of pickaxes striking stone from deep within the mine, voices calling names that no living person has spoken, and sudden chills that trace along their spine. Some report glimpsing miner silhouettes in the dimly lit interior, while others feel the presence of unseen entities moving alongside them. These encounters create a blend of fear and fascination, leaving an indelible impression on all who enter. Silver Mist Cabin stands as a testament to the enduring power of history and the supernatural. Its proximity to the abandoned mine, combined with unexplained sounds, shadowy figures, and sudden cold spots, creates an environment where the past seems to intersect with the present. For those willing to step into its timber-bird rooms and explore the mist-shrouded mine entrance, Silver Mist Cabin offers a chilling, immersive encounter with the unknown, a place where the echoes of miners and their long-forgotten labor continue to resonate in the quiet mountains of Breckenridge. Pine Hollow Cabin, tucked away in the dense forests near Evergreen, Colorado, stands as a relic of the 1800s, both in its construction and in the stories that cling to its weathered timbers. Built by a pioneering family seeking refuge in the Rocky Mountains, the cabin once bustled with the routines of daily life, cooking over the stone hearth, children's laughter echoing through the rooms, and the family tending to the surrounding forest and garden. Yet over the decades, tragedy and time have transformed Pine Hollow Cabin from a home into a place of mystery and fear. Today, visitors report a host of supernatural phenomena, ghostly apparitions, sudden chills that seem to follow them through the rooms, and unexplained noises that defy logical explanation. Many claim that the spirits of the family who once lived there continue to guard their home, lingering in the shadows, making Pine Hollow Cabin one of Evergreen's most haunted and compelling locations. The legend surrounding the family who occupied Pine Hollow Cabin is central to its haunting. According to local lore, the family consisted of parents and several children who settled in the area during the mid-1800s. Life was hard, with winters that could be unforgiving and isolation that tested the resolve of even the most resilient pioneers. Stories tell of misfortune that befell the family's: sudden illness, accidental deaths, and unexplained disappearances that left an indelible mark on the property. Over time, the cabin became associated with tragedy and loss, and locals began reporting odd experiences when venturing near it. Many believe that the spirits of the family remained tethered to their home, unwilling to leave the place where they endured both love and hardship. Visitors to Pine Hollow Cabin often describe an immediate sense of unease upon entering. The air feels heavier, colder, and somehow more alert, as if the cabin itself is aware of intruders. Sudden chills are among the most commonly reported phenomena, often appearing without warning and sometimes moving as guests traverse the rooms. Many describe feeling a presence at their shoulders or behind them, only to turn and find nothing. Some even report the sensation of invisible hands brushing lightly against their skin, a tactile reminder that they are not alone. These experiences combine to create a palpable tension that hangs over the cabin, reinforcing the idea that the spirits of the family continue to watch over their home. Auditory disturbances are also a hallmark of Pine Hollow Cabin. Guests frequently report hearing footsteps on the creaking wooden floors when no one is present, the soft murmur of voices in the background, and doors opening or closing on their own. Occasionally, the sound of children laughing or crying echoes faintly through the rooms, often during the quietest hours of the night. Investigators using electronic voice phenomena, EVP equipment, have recorded indistinct whispers and phrases that do not match any spoken language of the present, suggesting that the cabin is a conduit for past energies. These sounds, subtle yet unmistakably human in quality, reinforce the impression that Pine Hollow Cabin is inhabited not just by echoes of the past, but by active, conscious presences. Visual experiences, though less frequent, are particularly unnerving. Shadowy figures have been reported moving along the hallways or near windows, often disappearing when approached. Some visitors claim to see fleeting apparitions of family members dressed in period clothing, performing ordinary household tasks such as sweeping, carrying firewood, or peering out the window. These glimpses are usually brief, but they leave an indelible impression, creating a sense that the family's presence is both protective and watchful. In some instances, reflections in mirrors or glass panes have revealed figures that are not present when looked at directly, adding another layer of mystery to the cabin's reputation. The cabin's isolated environment contributes to the haunting's intensity. Surrounded by thick pines and undulating forested terrain, Pine Hollow Cabin is far removed from the distractions of modern life. The natural sounds of the forest wind rustling through branches, distant wildlife calls, or the sudden drop of a pine cone can be easily misinterpreted in the heightened awareness that comes with isolation. Moonlight filtering through the trees casts shifting patterns across the cabin walls, creating illusions of movement that blend seamlessly with genuine paranormal phenomena. This combination of natural and supernatural elements makes the cabin an immersive experience, where the boundary between reality and the otherworldly feels fluid. Historical context helps explain why Pine Hollow Cabin remains active. The combination of isolation, the intensity of pioneer life, and the tragedies that befell the family create what paranormal experts often describe as residual energy. Such locations, marked by strong emotions and unresolved experiences, may retain traces of the past that manifest through unexplained sounds, temperature anomalies, and visual apparitions. In Pine Hollow Cabin, the presence of the family seems particularly persistent, as if their spirits are guarding the home they once cherished, ensuring that the memories of their life and struggles are not forgotten. Despite the eerie experiences reported by many, Pine Hollow Cabin continues to attract visitors. Hikers, ghost enthusiasts, and history buffs come to witness the supernatural firsthand. Drawn by both the cabin's rustic charm and its chilling stories, many leave with vivid impressions, sudden, unexplained chills that follow them through the rooms, the sound of footsteps echoing on empty floors, or the brief sight of a family member's shadowy figure. These encounters create a mix of fear, fascination, and respect, reinforcing the cabin's status as a deeply haunted and historically significant location. Pine Hollow Cabin stands as a testament to the enduring power of memory and presence. Its sudden chills, unexplained noises, and ghostly apparitions provide a direct connection to a family who lived, struggled, and endured within its walls over a century ago. For those willing to step inside and explore the quiet, forested surroundings, Pine Hollow Cabin offers a haunting and immersive encounter with the past, a place where spirits continue to guard their home and ensure that their story remains alive in the mountains of Evergreen. From Estes Park to Evergreen, Breckenridge to Leadville, these 25 haunted cabins in Colorado remind us that the wilderness holds more than just natural beauty. They are silent witnesses to the passage of time, repositories of sorrow, fear, and unresolved histories. For those daring enough to explore, the experience is both thrilling and chilling, a walk through a world where the past never truly rests. These cabins stand as a testament to the stories that linger in the woods, inviting the brave and the curious to step closer and listen to the whispers of history. As we leave these haunted forests behind, it's important to remember that Colorado's cabins are more than quaint retreats. They are portals to the past, where tragedy, mystery, and the unexplained converge. Whether you seek adventure, historical intrigue, or a brush with the supernatural, these cabins offer a glimpse into a world where the line between life and death is thin, and the echoes of the past can be felt in every creaking floorboard, whispering breeze, and shadowed corner. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Colorado's most haunted cabins. If the stories have sent a chill down your spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss our next exploration into the haunted corners of the world. Until next time, keep your lights on and your senses sharp, because you never know what might be watching from the shadows of the wood.